to do this state, do you know, this is a map. You do the patriotic exercise.
When you do a good thing, I mean, when you do a good time, you take
Close, there it goes black again.
No. When did you guys drive in?
I know, I was asking last time. Yeah.
Yeah, go home.
Yeah.
Thank you for being here, Judah.
Okay, I think we're all situated, okay. So I call us back to open session. We have nothing to report from closed session at this time. And so I would like to offer public participation on non-agenda items. So I do have Emily here from the Noyo Food Forest, so we'll have her go to the podium and just introduce yourself again, please, and for the people at home.
Hello, can you hear me? Is this on? Okay. I'm Emily, I'm the director of the Noyo Food Forest, and excuse my appearances, we've been setting up for Earth Day all day. I'm just here real briefly to let you all know that in the long-term future of the Noyo Food Forest, we are really excited and interested in making some improvements to the current buildings that exist on there, and because there's so much excitement around it, you're probably going to hear people chatting about it at Earth Day, and I wanted to be sure to let you all know that there is nothing set forth. They're just ideas right now, and we will definitely get ourselves on the agenda and talk about our lease and do everything properly as far as defining what is the FBUSD property and what things are Noyo Food Forest. It's like if we were to no longer reside there, what were things that the Noyo Food Forest would be bringing with us, and what improvements that we're leaving on the school campus. So yeah, I just wanted to let you know about that ahead of time before, like I said, everybody's really excited about ideas and stuff, and I just wanted to bring that to everybody's attention, that we will go through the proper channels in the not too distant future.
And Earth Day Saturday.
Earth Day is Saturday, yeah, from 12 to noon, 12 to 4, yeah.
Well, thank you so much for being proactive on that and putting the word out. We
Yeah.
really appreciate that.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Right, any other public participation on non-agenda items? Anne's coming, I don't know whether she might want, or she's just coming. Mm-hmm.
Probably not.
Okay. Okay. All right, so we'll move on to 3.4, the approval of the agenda. Is there anything that we need to move or pull? No? Okay, can I have a motion to approve the agenda?
Make the motion, we approve the agenda?
I second.
All in favor?
Yes.
Yes.
Opposed? Okay. All right, so Student Rep Millen, would you like to lead us in the patriotic exercise this evening?
Yes, definitely. So for the patriotic exercise, so I'm in AP Government right now. We've been learning a lot about the history of this country, and I just thought that I would read the preamble to our Constitution, as that is a very patriotic document and thing. So,
Judah, would you take your mic and point
I
it?
apologize. Yes.
Thanks.
So have my little Constitution here, and it goes as such. We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America. So short and sweet, but I hope you guys enjoyed, and definitely an important document.
Thank you, Judah.
Thank you. Okay. So, Did we know if Kirsten wasn't gonna make it tonight?
The last I heard, she was coming.
Should we stall a little bit?
Well, why don't we acknowledge it, because I think our representative from Caldwell Flores has a long drive home.
I'm happy to wait a little while if you believe she's not away.
Okay.
Okay.
Then we'll do some of the other acknowledgements and then hopefully she'll be here.
Well, yeah, let's do the other acknowledgements. We'll do your acknowledgement last, and then if she comes in partway, we'll, yeah.
Okay. All right, so Becky, you usually take us through the rest of these.
Yes. So the ELAC, we had $250 in donations to help fund the 5th grade excursion to Mendocino College, and Jane is in the audience. And I always do that, don't I? Sorry.
Sorry, actually, Lisa Oakside just called me and saw this on the agenda and she couldn't make it and just wanted to make the correction that it's a $750 donation.
Oh, wow. So it's a 700. Thank you.
250, yeah.
So,
I think the previous donations were already acknowledged.
Oh, maybe it just came in later, so.
Yeah, they came
Okay.
in 2 separate batches.
That makes sense.
so in total,
Yeah.
we had $750 from ELAC for the 5th grade excursion to Mendocino College, and a shout out to Anne, who's in the audience. And if you just wave real quickly, people, she's right down here. Anne helped us organize that field trip. Every 5th grader went to Mendocino College. It was a great event. We used to have a 5th grade I'm going to college field trip years and years ago, and it had Norma Trejo in the audience also, big wave out there. FBHS alumni, go Wolves. And so we used to have it a while back, and it has been on hiatus for several years once we made the switch from CR to Mendocino College. So thank you, Anne, for being at the forefront of that and making that happen. As we're talking about this donation for that trip, just a little shout out. I met with some of our Mendocino College brass, and they were hoping that at some point we could even include the Mendo College campus here on the Coast Center. So maybe the 4th grade goes there, the 5th grade goes to the big campus, so that we can keep all of our college options open to our kiddos. So just something to think about, Mr. Kale and Anne. Next, so thank you, ELAC Committee, for your generous donations. Thank you to Matson Building Materials, donation of $100 to Redwood Elementary Autism Program. Thank you, Matson Building Materials, for your donation of $100 to the middle school 6th grade campout. Mendocino Coast Children's Fund, donation of $1,000 to the middle school 6th grade campout. Thank you, Children's Fund. Fort Bragg Middle School Parents Club, a donation of $927.73 to purchase uniforms for the soccer team. And certificated retirements. These are our teachers who've been with us for years and years, and we would like to just acknowledge their greatness because they've given decades to our district. Chuck Allegrini is retiring after 30 years of service. Thank you, Mr. Allegrini, for all your years with us. Joanne Farrell is retiring after 41 years of service. Thank you, Joanne Farrell, for 41 years. Robert Saxon is retiring after 17 years of service. Thank you, Bob. He's had a tough assignment and has just really persevered through. Thank you, Steve Woolty, for 33 years of service, and I believe he's been at Fort Bragg High School the entire, has he been at Fort Bragg High School the entire time?
Yep.
So thank you, Mr. Woolty, and there's lots of your students in the audience, obviously. So thank you, Mr. Woolty. Classified retirements, a huge shout out for our classified retirements, because we don't see this kind of longevity very often. To Ronnie Burns, 42 years in the district. Yeah, pretty exciting. 42 years in the district. He retires this June. Christine Downey, 34 years in the district. Teresa Hayter, 37 years in the district. And then Linda Stevens, 13 years in the district. All of our employees, they have been the foundation of what we do in our district. So I just want to thank our certificated staff and our classified staff for their wonderful commitment and dedication. We really appreciate it. And what great timing. Beautiful timing. So now I would like to have our Caldwell Flores Winter Scholarship winner, who is Kirsten Crowder. Please come to the podium. Hello, Kirsten. And our Caldwell Flores Winters representative, and you said your name to me,
Sumit.
Samin. Thank you. The mic is on, so
Hello.
Sumit. I just have a few words to say. if you don't mind. Okay.
I'm just going to take a picture.
All right. Good evening, everyone. My name is Sumit Goyal. I'm here representing Caldwell Flores Winters. This scholarship is from the CFW Foundation, established in 2005. Since then, we have awarded over $500,000 to high school seniors in districts that we serve. Our scholarship program asks superintendents to identify one student in their district who stands out for their perseverance and positive attitude despite having to overcome personal challenges. These students must also have a commitment to continue their education after high school in either universities, colleges, or in vocational or technical programs. This year, we have scholarship recipients who are going on to become welders, firefighters, nurses, engineers, and more. Whatever their future paths, they have all inspired us with their stories and tenacity. Kirsten Crowder is one of over 350 students selected for this award over the past 12 years. As Kirsten shared in her application essay, her involvement with the Fort Bragg chapter of FFA, Future Farmers of America, has given her the self-confidence to come out of her comfort zone and grow as an individual. Because of her successful fundraising efforts, she was able to travel to both Indianapolis and Washington, D.C., where she attended a national convention with over 60,000 people and watched the President of the United States give a speech to the FFA youth organization. As Superintendent Walker described in her nomination, Kirsten has overcome a lot in her life and has managed to remain focused on her education and her goal of becoming an agricultural teacher. Many students in her situation would have given up, but Kirsten is resilient and has shown the courage to overcome those hardships. It is for all these reasons that we are honored to present Kirsten with this scholarship award of $2,000 to help pursue her goal of agricultural education. Congratulations.
Can you stand up there so I can take a quick photo? My son loves when I take pictures.
Would you like to be in the photos? Thank you.
Is there someone to take a picture? I'm sorry, I'm a scrapbooker, with the family and do you guys want to take a picture together? With, yeah. With the representative and the. I can't really get out, but. Okay, well, that was great typing.
And just so people know, it's Autism Awareness Month. I don't normally wear a T-shirt and jeans to a board meeting. But that's why we have our shirts on, so it's Autism Awareness Month. Congratulations out to Kirsten. Thank you so much for coming. We know it's a long drive. We really appreciate the support that Caldwell Flores Winters has given to our students, and that will go a long way with her. So thank you. Thank you. Moving right along, Madam President.
So we have one more, the Staff Appreciation Day.
Yes. So just so our certificated and our classified staff knows, we honor all of our employees. And so there is a Day of the Teacher, sponsored by CTA, and then there is a Classified Employees Week, sponsored by CSEA. So what we try and do in Fort Bragg is find a day in the middle And then we have an FBUSD Staff Appreciation Day. Because we didn't want it to be that one day we only honor the teachers and one day we only honor the classified. Does that make sense? So we pick one day and then we try and do a little something for everybody, and we always try and pick a day in the middle. So this year, the FBUSD Staff Appreciation Day is May 15th, which is right in between Day of the Teacher and Classified Employees Week. And we're still going to give a shout out and do our jazz hands for teachers and classified on the prospective days. But we would like, as a staff, to just acknowledge the hard work that everyone does to help the lives of our kids. So, thank you.
Okay. All right, and communication this month, I think most of these things we all received. One was from a retired teacher, Shelley DeAngelis. She sent us a link to an article regarding teacher morale and the consequences of that. I received a letter from K-Rex regarding the budget, and it was a very heartfelt and something that will definitely stay with me as we move through the budget crisis discussion. And then Kirsten Maurer watched the meeting from home and sent us a thank you for supporting the textbook adoption at the middle school.
Cesario.
Sorry. Thank you, Becky. And then we received very late today a parent letter regarding a high school trip. So I think if anybody else received anything.
And I just received an invite to the band booster meeting, which I think is tonight.
Mm-hmm.
So if anyone has band students, they might want to run over to the middle school.
And may I make one comment? I received a letter I want to say, before spring break or right after spring break. It was an anonymous letter, so there was no name to a parent. It was just a parent who wanted to share their thoughts on a high school activity. And the difficulty is when we have a letter with no name, there is no way I can correspond with the writer. There were a lot of inaccuracies in the letter. There were a lot of false statements in the letter, and I think the letter that I received, the person believed all of those things to be true, and I can understand why the person wrote the letter, but because I have no way to correspond with an anonymous letter, I'm really going to make a plea to our parents and our community that if there's something on your mind, please make an appointment to come and see me and talk to me. If you don't want to do the letter, give me a call or write me a letter with the name. And if you don't want people to know about it, you can tell me that, because that was one of the reasons the person didn't want their name disclosed to teachers and other admin. But there's nothing I can do to help alleviate anxiety over a situation when you come into a situation and you don't have all the information, and then I don't have the opportunity to say, hey, let me help you with this, because some of this did not happen. So just a shout out for that. If you have a concern, please give us an opportunity to work with you.
And we do appreciate correspondence. It was nice, especially to get that thank you note. And we knew somebody was watching at home.
Yeah.
It's very exciting. How many viewers do we have right now, gentlemen? 3. Excellent.
That's because they're all at the band meeting.
Excellent.
That's right.
Excellent.
And we do have quite a few in the room tonight, so thank you all for
very
coming.
exciting. We're
on a very sunny night.
We are improving, I'm telling you. It used to be just 2. We've increased by 50%.
Okay, so nobody else received anything? Okay. All right, so we'll move on to public participation on agenda items. So you can speak now, or you can speak, when the item comes up on the agenda, you're welcome to speak then as well. I used to be a school counselor. I'm good with silence, so I can see people start squirming. It's like, I'm good with silence. Somebody might get the courage. Okay. But seeing no volunteers, we'll move on to reports, and the first one is the board report. So if anybody had any activities, I know some of us have been pretty busy, not us, some of the group have been busy going to MIG and things like that.
3 of us, I think, went to elected officials night at Casper Community Center.
All right.
It's always interesting, get to meet with a lot of other elected officials and interested public folks, so it's kind of a nice chance to network and kind of hear what the people are thinking about us. And either they're very polite or there are reasons they can't be, I'm not sure which. But we did that, and then it was numerous sites that all of us went to lunch at. I went to the high school, I went to the middle school. Diane and I went to Alt Ed today and checked out the cafeterias, and you're doing a great job, Pilar, thank you. And
Jerry, would you take your mic and hold it a little bit closer?
I'm trying
Just
to loop it over
there
this
you
thing
go.
I'm
Thank
using
you.
tonight.
Oh. I'm proud of you, Jerry. That's great.
No more binders for me, hopefully. We went to Dana Gray Fine Arts Night, and we went to the Fame play at Cotton Auditorium. That's it.
So like Jerry, attended lunch at a few of the different sites. Thank you for hosting us. The food was delicious, and it was great to have lunch with kids. Attended the Spring Carnival at the high school. That was a lot of fun. A lot of work goes into that thing, and appreciate all that. I know a lot of the kids, both high school and younger kids, had a good time, especially with the horses and cows and dogs. That was kind of fun.
The lions and tigers?
No lions and tigers, no. I looked, but I didn't see any. And I just want to take a second to go back. I know we quickly talked about the retirements, but to see the number of years on some of these people is very impressive. And it takes a lot of dedication to stay in a job that long and stay committed and motivated, enthusiastic. And I just, it's people like that that make this community so great. So I just wanted to offer another acknowledgement.
Oh, sure. Okay. Well, I also, with Jerry and Diana, not together, separately, attended the elected officials afternoon, evening soiree. And Diana and I attended the CSBA Masters in Governance classes. Did we do 3, 4, and 5 since the last meeting? Okay. So we did twice. We've been up there. And learning how to be good board members. And so that was enlightening for sure, for me especially. Also attended lunch at all of the schools. However, I got to middle school late and they sold my lunch, which is okay because I'd rather have the kids get food than me. But I sat and chatted with them. That was great. And I did not go to the high school because I've had their lunches a million times. And will continue, I'm sure. I also attended Spring Carnival, helped with Mary Iverson's cute little workshop, and then also my granddaughter was there, so I would run out and go with her to some of hers also, to her workshop, so that was really fun. And yesterday, I'm embarrassed to say, but I went to my second ever track meet after 25 years in the district, and I measured how far kids did long jump and triple jump, and it was actually really fun, so I'm going to go again next Wednesday. So that's it for me.
Nice. I also will do a shout out for the certified or certificated and the classified retirements. Many of these folks, if they're 30 and above, that means I was at their location. Ronnie Burns was my janitor at Dana Gray. It's amazing. He's been at that same site. Chuck Allegrini, I think, was his first run. I believe he was a PE teacher. So we were the first group to get him involved with middle school kids. And I think Mrs. Farrell was a kindergarten teacher when I was in school. And I didn't have Mr. Wolte, but he was a science teacher while I was attending. And Teresa Hayter, I went to school with her daughter, and she must have been at a site, I'm not sure. So it's lovely to see the longevity, and I just think it's amazing to be in the same site all those years. So I wish them luck in their future endeavors. I also attended the meet and greet on March 15th, and I was able to personally thank Council Member Peters for the TOT support that's on the agenda later on. I attended the Nutrition Week at all the sites and really enjoyed sharing the table with children, and it was very clear at Redwood that we were sitting in a spot that maybe for room 52. And so I said that when 52 arrived, that I would be happy to move to the parent table, which that kind of was the parent table. 52 had amazing attendance that day because they were looking down, and the little boy across the way says, "See, I told you, there's no room for you." And so it was very sweet. So that was awesome. I can't believe the number of children that are eating at the elementary school. It's full and it's fun. It's, you know, whereas middle school, you know, they're in and out. You don't even know who's eating because they're so busy. So that was really fun to see. They definitely know who's supposed to sit there, and and I also, like Mary said, we did the Master in Governance training 3 and 4 and 5, and I hope to. They have CSBA their material is so rich in information, and it's so engaging. I mean, these folks, I would invite them to my home. I mean, they're so engaging, they're so to point. There's so much information that, you know, they scratch the surface, but there's so much to offer. So we're hoping to get a bunch of PDF of student achievement, and there's so much documentation that all of us can benefit in the public. So I'm hoping to get that to Anna so that she can put it in our resource, because there's so much to it. They make it seem so simple. If it was so simple, we'd all be doing it, right? Yeah. But it's worth the time. You know, we had 3 weekends that we went up there. So on our downtime, we were engaging with others, and a lot of people. Anyway, I can go on and on about that, because they have a whole campaign on the full fare funding, which petition to the lawmakers about, you know, that we have the biggest economy in California, but we're 42nd in per student monies. It doesn't make sense. The priorities in the lawmakers aren't in education, and we need to get on the bandwagon with that to have them be at a priority. I also we rolled into town. I went to the spaghetti feed for the class of 2019, which I think was really successful. Wellness meeting on March 26th. I also attended the Fine Arts Night, which was amazing. It was lovely. The flyer was amazing, and they had it just was really a special evening. And I also was able to go to Fame for 1 hour. I had to swap the events that night. And I did attend some baseball games and softball games. Agenda setting on April 5th, the Spring Carnival on April 5th. I went to 8 themes. That was a lot of fun. I wish I could have not worked during the day, so I could have attended each themed room. Site Council on April 16th at the middle school, and really good discussions there, what they're thinking about educating families about attendance. And it sounded like even trying to kind of have a tally at the counter when you go in to see the staff. They're going to try something new next year, so that was kind of exciting. I attempted to go to Mountain Mike's fundraiser for track. I had ordered online, and they said it was going to be ready in 20 minutes. I'd been in Willits. And I walked in, and they said it's going to be 2 hours. So I said, I'm so sorry, we're ravenous, and I'm a little hangry. So I will donate to the cause, and I'll try my Mountain Mike's. It's a lovely facility. I'd love to try their pizza, but I hope it was successful for track.
They were packed.
It was,
I too
yeah.
did not get a pizza.
And then again, we went to Alt Ed for lunch today, and we also, Kathy and I participated in the Tennis Shoe Tuesday, and we we had flats on, but we did our 10-minute walk around the block to encourage wellness, and it actually was a nice way to start the day. Mm-hmm. And I also have been tuning into the city council meetings, just being more aware locally what's happening in the community, and there's a few pieces that we'll be able to maybe collaborate with them, and I hope that we'll have that discussion. But they're doing a lot of good work, and they're also going to be having a gang awareness meeting April 25th that I'm going to try to attend.
Okay.
Thank you.
And I went to the Fort Bragg High School orientation, which was very odd to be on the other side of putting that on and not on the floor. But they did a great job, and I'm excited to see the high school from that perspective. We had 2 home middle school wrestling meets, so that was exciting. I too went to the spaghetti dinner. I think it seemed to be there was lots of stuff happening that night, but I hope they made some money. I went to Dana Gray Parents Club. They, for anybody listening at home, they are in dire need of some officers. They are in, I guess, in worry that they are going to have to give the money to the school, which isn't a bad thing, but they don't have enough people. So if they don't fill 2, they've got 2 families going to middle school and nobody to replace those positions. So please, if you have a incoming 3rd grader or know anybody that is at Dana Gray, they desperately need help. And the next meeting is on the website. I don't remember what it is. And then, and Diana talked about tennis shoe Tuesday. Okay. All righty, we're moving on. Okay, Judah.
Yes. So starting off, student report. Sorry, I have a little bit of a sore throat. I apologize. Excuse me. So at the high school, as many of you have mentioned, we had a very successful spring carnival. It was raining, but I think that everyone had a great time nonetheless. And I know that I enjoyed myself, and I think the kids were very excited and happy. ASB elections are coming up on the 22nd and the 23rd of this month, and it is unfortunate, but I have to report that as of right now, there will actually be nobody replacing me next year. So I am graduating, and Ms. T let me know that no one yet has stepped forward to take my place. So
You are irreplaceable, Judah.
oh, thank you very much. But yeah, so unfortunately, I don't know what's going to happen with that, but it looks like no one is willing to step up. So I guess I'll keep you updated if I hear. Yeah. So I'll keep you updated if anything changes. But as of right now, I think that I don't know. It's unfortunate.
Well, hopefully it won't be open for too long.
Yes.
Hopefully it'll be filled.
Yes. Additionally, right now, the link leader selection process is taking place. The FFA leadership team is going to the FFA state convention. AP testing is coming right up in May. I think the first test is like May 6th. So I know that for those of us taking AP classes, it's a bit of a scary time right now. People are really starting to buckle down. Prom is coming up on April 27th. So that's 2 weekends. And I know that people are starting to get really excited for that. There's some hubbub. And then finally, the last home track meet is next Wednesday, the 24th. And in addition to track, all of the other spring sports are going and being successful and doing a good job. Then next we have the Danny Gray report. So I think that some of you talked about this, but Danny Gray recently the 5th grade went on a field trip to Mendocino College in Ukiah. And I'm being told that was very successful. All 3 grades are going on field trips to Point Cabrillo coming up over the next couple weeks to see the lighthouse. Additionally, tomorrow, April 19th, there is an Earth Dome presentation at Danny Gray, which is a 19-foot-high inflatable dome that is the globe using satellite imagery. And I guess the students are going to learn about the environment and geography and different things. So that sounds like a very exciting experience. Did you have something to add? No, it's okay. It's okay.
She asked what time it was.
Oh.
It's throughout the day.
Throughout the day.
So,
The classes rotate
the
through.
classes rotate through, yeah.
And then, let's see. And then also there will be a musical presentation by Sonoma Clean Power about water conservation on May 2nd, and then Color Run on May 11th. And then finally, I have a report from the middle school. CASP testing is beginning, and I guess it was kicked off with a student-organized and run assembly in which both the Fort Bragg Middle School Band and choir performed, and there were student dance routines and skits. And so I guess that was a big deal and very exciting, and their spirits were brought up to go into testing. And additionally, the soccer team and girls softball team at the middle school are doing well and in the middle of the season. And that's all I have, so thank you guys.
And just a couple of clarifications. Mary Makala made a point to, when Judah talks about a lot of programs, we're all nodding because we know what those programs are. So for instance, when he says link crew, link crew actually means the word link, like a chain link. And link crew matches our juniors and seniors up with our freshmen so that every freshman has a mentor. It's a pretty nationally known mentor program, and our middle school has WEB. WEB actually means where everybody belongs, and it is a partner program to Link Crew, where the 8th graders partner with the 6th graders so that every incoming student to that school has a peer mentor. So, and I tried to...
Pod.
And then at Dana Gray, because Dana Gray is so on top of it, they created the Pod Squad, and it is Pod, Mr. Kale. It's
positive. First one's positive. Always
positive, open-minded,
open-minded, determined.
determined, and they thought, I have to tell you, I thought it was a wonderfully creative name because they're the dolphins and like a dolphin pod. Isn't that great? That's a knee slapper. So they are the pod squad at Dana Gray, and we have our 5th graders mentoring our 3rd graders. So it's building community early on and looking at these programs and making them go throughout our schools. And we haven't quite hit Redwood because our 2nd graders may need a little bit more maturation to help our kindergartners. So Redwood's got a lot going on, so we're going to give them a pass on that. So that's what some of those things were.
Sorry if I.
Oh, no, Judy,
Left
you
out
do a
some
great job,
details.
and I just want to do a shout out to you and really appreciate how you do highlight all the schools. We 100% enjoy hearing it, and it's not just a high school presentation anymore. And what you've done with the role in the last 2 years is you've expanded it and made it into something that's much more inclusive. So thank you for doing that. And at our very last board meeting, we are going to honor our senior Judah Millen. So preview of upcoming attractions.
Thank you.
So do we know the venue of the prom?
It is at the Catholic.
It's at the Catholic Church this year.
Yeah.
Is that correct? Yes,
At the-
we're getting a nod in the back
Yes, I'm
from the
It's at-
entertainment crew.
It's at a church. I'm not sure which church.
I think it's at the Catholic Church. Is that correct? Yes, we're
Yes.
getting a nod again from the,
And I'm being told, I've heard, I think it's rustic themed. So like,
I did hear that.
yeah, I don't know what that necessarily means, but that is.
it's creative.
Yes.
It's good. Yeah.
It means hay bales.
Hay bales.
Means
Hay
Exactly.
bales, okay.
Recycle.
And mason jars.
And like, I think like barrels. I don't know, but it should be good. I think there is excitement.
It's a nice hall there.
People are
Love Pinterest.
getting excited for it for sure.
So Judah, thank you for your student report, and if you need to vacate for your next appointment, whenever you
Thank
need
you.
to do that.
Okay. All right, so that brings us to 8.2, superintendent report. Becky.
Now, let's do the fun stuff. The superintendent report. So we're going to start with online registration. So we are going to try something new next year, and before my inbox floods with emails of excitement, let me just say that we are trying something new. We always endeavor to make things better. We don't do change for change's sake. We look at what we're doing and we say, how can we make it better? For years and years and years, we've done registration at all our sites, 4 different days, 4 different times. And if you had 2 or 3 kids at different sites, guess what you got to do? You got to spend 2 or 3 days of pure joy waiting in line and turning in papers. So what we are doing this year is we are going to embrace the technology that we have before us, and we are moving our registration process completely online. So So completely online registration, what it means is somewhere around July 5th, registration is going to open. When registration opens, you will be able to go online through your parent Aries account, and you will be able to update your student information. We've had online registration available for the last 2 years. This year, the only way you can register is online. So, I know, it's gonna be okay, Norma, I promise.
Well, I mean, I have like just some concerns for, if you guys are gonna have computers
We
available.
are.
for parents.
So there's going to be a lot of information that goes out. So first off, when it starts to open, we're going to have opportunities for parents to come into the district office, to sit with our staff, and we'll help them one-on-one. When we get to the actual registration day that I'll talk about in a minute, we're going to have banks of computers with people designated who are bilingual, who will be able to help families register. Now, there's a reason for this that actually makes a whole lot of sense. Our middle school and our high school is completely online. Our middle school and high school, if you have a parent portal, you can go in and look at your students' attendance and look at your students' grades. If you don't have a parent portal, you can't do that. If you have a parent portal and you register through our online registration, you will have started that process. You are in. So that's the first thing. We really want 100% participation in parents looking at their children's grades, looking at their children's attendance, because it's all live in real time. For instance, I have a parent portal. I can go into my son's profile any day at any time and see if he's in class. He's so happy he's a senior. He graduates. So, but those are things that I can do as a parent, which means anybody can do as a parent. So we are moving to a completely online registration system. The other thing that goes hand in hand with that is that all of our forms will be online. So we're trying to make this as electronic and streamlined as possible. We are also going to place our free and reduced lunch forms. Okay, well then we'll hold on that. But our goal is to put all of it online, okay? And it will happen. What I'm going to ask everybody for is some patience, because this is our first big step. We talked about doing this 3 years ago and just ripping the Band-Aid off and going in and making it completely online. We weren't ready 3 years ago. That was going to be too big of a push. Now, we all have met and talked in nauseam about this. I think we're ready. The next big part that everyone is just going to love is we are going to do this all in one day. So rather than having 4 different registration days like we've typically done, we are really going to try and make this as easy for our families as possible. So on August 6th, we are going to have registration day at Dana Gray, and it will be for the entire district. So if you have a kiddo at Redwood, at Dana Gray, and at the middle school, you get to go to one place, register all your kids, and you will be done. Now, the wonderful part about that is that it's in one spot. What's going to happen if you're in middle school or high school is you're going to register at Dana Gray, and then to pick up your schedule and your PE gear and your yearbook and all those extra things that are unique to middle school and high school, we're going to have you walk across the street to the high school gym and then go take care of that. What I want to encourage people to do is think about the times. We don't need 1,800 students registering all at 11:30 when this starts. Does that make sense? Everybody in the audience is nodding, but I know my 3 viewers out there. So we just need to space this out correctly so that people know it's going to be open all day. And I want to just give an example about the high school registration. High school registration, since I've been at the high school and since before I've been at the high school, has always been 4 to 7 p.m. Always. At 3:45, there is a line from the table where you begin out to the parking lot. Always. At 5:30 you come in. 5:30 is halfway between 4 and 7 p.m. At 5:30 you come in, it's empty. There's no line. I have always waited till 5:30, 6 o'clock to register my son because there's no line. So go up, talk to people, commiserate about the world events, go into the gym and do my business. So in any case, we're going to try this and see how it works. A lot of people are worried that there's going to be long lines. If people register online, it's going to be a very seamless and easy process. You give your name, we check off. You sign that you were there, and we move you to the next spot, and you'll be done. So if you do your online registration, this really is a quick and easy process. We plan to have 6 to 10 people collecting things, well, not collecting things, but being able to process people. And we plan to have our bilingual staff available so that our families don't have to navigate this through sign language. So online registration, we are ripping the Band-Aid off. We're going to give it a go. I promise you that there will be things after this first go-around that we will adjust, but I'm going to say this 3 more times. August 6th, August 6th, August 6th. Yes, Norma Trejo.
What are your guys'
Can you go to the podium, please?
Oh, okay. Small, all right.
Yeah.
What are your guys' plans for people that can't show up on August 6th?
Great question. So if you can't show up on August 6th, we're going to ask you to go ahead and still register online, and then you'll make an appointment with your school's office.
Okay. So if there were any parents that wouldn't be able to because they don't know how to navigate the online system, would they just go to directly to the district office to ask for help, or how would that work out?
Yes.
Anybody can come to the district office throughout the summer, and Sarah Bushnell or myself will be able to help them with all of the processes they need to get either an email account, their Aries account set up, and any help they need with any of the forms that are online. We'll be there all summer.
All right.
Stop by.
And then would there be any forms?
Pardon?
Would there be any forms or any papers that are being...
Everything's going to be online.
Well, no, but any papers announcing that at the end of the school year, or for any new parents that are going to sign up their kids so that they know where to go?
Norma, you are perfect. So what are we going to do? We're going to be doing Aries all calls. We'll be sending the all call out to parent. We'll have something in the newspaper. We'll have something with the radio stations. We're going to send out some correspondence in our newsletters, and then at the open houses for Redwood, Dana Gray Middle School. The high school doesn't have an open house, but for those 3 open houses, we're going to send out information there. We're also going to have a bank of computers at the open houses, correct? So that we can get parents who aren't signed into a parent portal, we can start that process now. So we're going to do our best to get it out there. We're going to do our best to have it available and have different opportunities for our parents to get their parent portal started.
Okay, and then this is going to be both in English and Spanish?
Yes.
Newspaper, radio station, and so forth?
For Aries, how Aries works, when we do an Aries all call to the district, the message comes to your home in the language that you choose in your Aries portal. So we actually have Aries messages going out right now in 4 different languages, which is pretty great.
Yeah.
And the good news, it's not completely perfect in translation, but if you know your language well enough to know, okay, that's what they meant. When they said kid, they didn't mean a goat, they meant a child.
Yeah.
So that's the beautiful part about Aries, and which is one of the reasons why we want folks to set up their portal. Everybody gets the Aries all call messages regardless if they have a portal because they're in our system. So that's the good news. The portal just allows you to make some adjustments to it, like eliminate the phone calls and just keep the text messages, or just go to email and eliminate the text messages, whatever you want. So.
And the home language survey was done for families that don't have portals. So that's how that's coded at the beginning, correct?
Right. So right now, if any student enrolled in our school filled out a home language survey, every student did, and you're able to identify the language you want, and then our secretaries have manually put in what that language is, so that when you get the Aries message, it's in your home language.
But what I was asking is about the registration for people that don't have access to a portal, or if they don't know how to navigate through the portal, if you guys are going to put out a message saying, come to the office and we'll help you, or if you miss August 6th, or, just like a general announcement, like if you guys were to miss this date, the only date that we have, which I don't think is a bad thing. I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm just trying to be preventative for anyone that would miss it. What we could say as, oh, don't worry about it, you could just go to the office, but not for it not to be word of mouth, but to be publicly announced.
So again, we're going to be doing the Aries all calls.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to go out in the school newsletters. They'll be mailed. There's going to be a message mailed home with the end of the year report card, so everybody will get that. Our kindergarten students really are the ones who are going to be missing messages. But what we're going to do with our kindergarten group is we did a pre-enrollment. So we have over 100, I think we are at 120.
And as they enrolled, we gave them that information already in print.
Yeah.
So, and that was in English and in Spanish. So when our new kindergartners enrolled, we've already given them the information. So for our current students, we're putting all that out in end of the year information before anyone leaves in English and in Spanish.
Perfect. And it did go home. Dana Gray did send the letter home about the portal if you didn't have one already. So
It started.
It started, yeah.
And Redwood.
And Redwood did it. So it's going to be a number of times. So this is the first time I'm announcing it at a board meeting, but we wanted to get the ball rolling in our schools before I brought it up here.
Okay.
So great questions, Norma. Thank you.
Now, by any chance, is Link Day and Web Day in conjunction with this day too?
No. And the reason for that is, well, let me say, I believe the Web Day is the day before school starts, because I heard that at their staff meeting. I don't know when the Link Day is. Yes, Danette.
So, parent and school bus driver,
Name.
usually as school, Danette.
Thank you.
Usually
know who you
as
are.
the school bus driver for Redwood, we always did the bus passes for the children. How's that going to work?
So we've already been in communication with Barry. So
Okay.
we have a system. So all that's going to be happening on registration day. We've got a lot of systems in place, and Danette, you'll probably be there for registration day. So we've talked about all of those things, because the bus passes for Redwood are were a major concern, because every little Redwood kiddo has to have a direction. They're not old enough to say, "Where are you going?" So we've discussed that in great detail. So August 6th. Okay, questions?
Sarah Bushnell would like everybody to know that the online forms are in English and in Spanish in Aries, and everything will be bilingual.
And she's one of our 3 viewers. Hello. That's fantastic. Yes, all the online forms are in English and Spanish. Thank you, Sarah.
So what's the hours for the August 6th?
11:30 to 6 p.m. And I'm looking at Anna because Anna and Sarah are the brain children of all of this, and they're organizing all of it. We wanted to make sure that we had enough time so that we could have time in the morning with our employees to set it up. And then we wanted to make sure we had at least an hour after 5 o'clock for working moms and dads. So we're hoping that with a 6.5-hour span that people can spread out and we can get folks through seamlessly. And if we have hiccups, we're going to do our best to attack it, and then we're going to look at everything at the end of the day and say, what are we going to change for next year? So, but really the goal from this is 2 things. Number 1, our secretaries can no longer sort through the amount of paper that they are sorting through. It is truly just this monumental task that takes weeks and weeks, and it's just not necessary. Secondly, we don't need to spend the money on the amount of paper that we are spending money on. It is frightening to see the amount of paper that comes out of registration. And then thirdly, we have to do something for our families who have multiple children. They should not have to take time off of work on 3 or 4 different days to go and register their kids. So that's where all this came from. Not because we are trying to make less work for each other. This is actually creating more work for us, but over the long haul, it's going to allow us to have all of our parents in our system through Aries. They are going to be able to access their kids' records. The benefits far outweigh the inconvenience for the day. So I would just recommend to folks, if you have to come at 11:30, great, be there. But let's not have everybody there at 11:30.
And
So-
it really is, as a parent that's done it ever since you guys started it, I have to say I like skipping the line because all I have to do is hand that one thing I have to sign. I hand it and I'm out. I don't have to go through all those steps. So I think it's change and we'll do it. But I think it's great.
Okay.
Okay, I'm just gonna remind not to, but we are trying to keep reports to 5 minutes. Not your whole set, but I mean, just
Okay.
because.
So let me just say this with kudos
Well, that sounds
registration.
negative, but-
No, I get it. I'm long-winded.
It's not just.
It's
not
okay.
just you, but-
Kudos registration. In the packet, it says that kudos registration is going to be May 14th. That's wrong. And the reason it's wrong is because we changed it today. The reason we changed it today is because May 14th is the district-wide band concert. So we didn't want kudos registration to compete with the band concert. So, first off, May 14th, band concert, district-wide, Cotton Auditorium, starts at 7. Woohoo! We are moving kudos registration to Monday, May 13th. Monday, May 13th, and it will be at the Dana Gray Multipurpose Room. I'm having too much fun with the microphone, so I'll stop. So that's kudos registration, Monday, May 13th. It will be from 5:30 to 7:30 in the Dana Gray Multipurpose Room. So there you go. And Anna, if you could just make sure we fix that change, please. Sorry.
Yes.
I don't know if I told you. Oh, yay. Excellent. Okay.
It's on two, okay. Okay, we're on to benchmark reports from Redwood and Dana Gray.
We're getting pretty fancy now.
Wow.
Oh,
We'll see if Mr. Triplett and Miss Vieira are watching this because they're going to be intimidated.
There's some paper. Sorry.
I'll send you an email about this. Thank you. Of course.
Where is it connected? Where's the clicker plugged into?
I have to. Do I have a thing?
Look at you, Anna.
remotely?
No.
No, yeah. You have the power, Mr. Kale.
You have power.
No, I just will try to.
Okay. So, good evening. My name is Rick Kale. I am principal of Dana Gray Elementary School. I'm excited to be here as always. We should be excited because this is about growth. This is about capacity building. And let me just share something really silly with you. I learned how to do this. We have a machine at Dana Gray that was covered in inches and inches and inches and inches of dust. No one had touched it for years because it was 1957 technology, right? And but it does something really fun. It makes this happen. Anyway, asking people how to run it was like asking someone how to operate a sundial. You know, I don't know. Anyway, I learned how to do it. You know, and that's what it's about. It's about growth mindset, right? I mean, I learned this silly thing, but anyway, I'm excited about it.
10 minutes, Mr. Kale.
Thank you. Our children are excited too. So, and you know, there is a lot of growth. Here we go. Oh, I can make it go. All right. So there's lots of growth. Just for the board, there's page numbers on the side. So we'll zip through these relatively quickly. And I've been told to move quickly, so I will. Here we go. Here we go. So this is the report on the second benchmark. So these are the scores of the third grade benchmark number 2. And of course, what we're always interested in is we're interested in the green and the blue, right? The green and the blue. This one doesn't make me too unhappy. And we combine those numbers. So we're looking at 40% are in the green and the blue. What's interesting though, and I promise there's a lot of slides, but I'm going to go fast. These are the same students. So this is benchmark 1 compared to benchmark number 2. And this is in English, in ELA. So you see the blue grew a little bit, right? Very nicely. The green grew a little bit, and that is great. Actually, even more than a little bit. And the red shrunk. So that's what we're looking for, right? We're looking for improved scores as we move along through the year. And that is good news. What I've put in here as well, and it'll sort of follow a pattern, are the different students. So this is trickier to measure because these are different kids, right? I mean, different kids are going to perform differently. But it's a great measure for me as principal and for us as teachers, as our teaching group, to see how are we doing over time. And you can see that the third grade teachers are very excited about this group that they're working with right now. There's a lot more green and a little more blue, and that's great. Like they are inspired and like feeling like they are rocking and rolling and moving forward. So this is a good report to me, if that makes sense, right? I also snuck in subgroup data, and this isn't really a report talking about the subgroup differences, but you know, I encourage you to take this home and give us lots of input. You know, the public, give us lots of input. You can look at this stuff. I have no problem at all. The subgroup differences still exist. English learner differences, and it's sort of, wait, I don't want to shoot anybody in the eye.
It won't work on the
Oh, it won't work
screen.
on that. It's the second one over from the right, is the English learner. And then the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 is the SED, the socioeconomic disadvantaged folks. Those differences still exist. But what I want to report to the board, which is exciting, is that we can look, and we're in the process of doing that, looking at this data as it progresses. I mean, we could create a report of just this data as it develops and see, anyway, I didn't do that this time, but we can see how well we're doing. Generally, it's still a challenge. It's still a challenge. Something to pay attention to. Fourth grade. So here are the results for the fourth grade benchmark overall, the second benchmark. Lots of green, love it. I'm still, this group, there's some challenges there. There's a lot of yellow, a lot of red. What's interesting is comparing the first benchmark, so last time we saw third grade, the first benchmark of the fourth grade to the second benchmark of the fourth grade, there's actually some regression. If you look, like they did worse on the second test. This is not a bad thing for us in the sense that we are data driven. I mean, that's the thing, we're data driven, and we're looking at this stuff, and we can talk about as a teaching staff why. We can drill down to the exact kids and say which ones and why, and which, you know, we're getting better and better and better about, well, which were the questions, and if this is the kid, anyway, you get it, right? Which were the kids in this one, which were the kids that dropped out of the green and went into the yellow, right? We had a small number, and that's probably just 2 or 3 students that jumped from the green into the blue, but we had a significant amount go backwards. Well, what were they struggling on specifically, right? I mean, that's why this is, it makes my staff nervous to show this stuff, but, and to know that I am reporting to the board, like, but this is important for us, and this is how we drive instruction and drive progress, really. Here's what's interesting. Here's the different students in fourth grade. Fourth grade is doing better this year than they did last year, you know, with the second benchmark. The fifth grade group that we have now is a challenging group. They're academically, they're a challenging group. So as a teaching staff, I can look at this and go, we can do this. Like teachers often go, just being a longtime teacher, like the first thing that jumps into your head, is it me? You know, like, is it me? Why don't they understand? Is it me? It's not. It's the students that change over time, you know, going through like waves. So this one struck me that a year-over-year improvement in benchmark number 2. So that's fantastic, right? That's really good. Again, the subgroup data, I won't beat it up too much, but there is, again, socioeconomic concerns, English language concerns. They're always in these graphs because they do racial, ethnic differences and all of the subgroups. By the way, like, as I was looking at these earlier, I'm like, they look like little happy faces. Those marks underneath are, well, or I could have made them happy faces, I guess. It would have been better. Those list how many students are in that group. And some of the really strong differences here are very few students. So that's why it causes like a whomp in the data. And it makes, for instance, I don't want to belabor it too much, but the socioeconomic, this is page 10, the socioeconomic, a negative 24.4 difference, that is actually really severe. It doesn't look as severe because of the one at the far left is really large, but still, it is a concern.
So, Mr. Kale, just to clarify, the benchmarks that were administered by staff are from the curriculum?
Yes. Yeah, so these are curriculum-based benchmarks. And my last little 2 slides that we'll talk about in a second, kind of, I want to let you know what the next steps are, because they're truly, this is great. Like, this data collection is fantastic, and the system of having data moving through and looking at it and comparing it and looking at the instruction is fantastic. But we kind of have a plan to align this a little bit better. Now that we have the engine running, we need to tune it, if that makes sense. Okay. 5th grade benchmark, number 2. This is our most challenging group right now. And what's great is they're a wonderful group. I mean, they're wonderful, wonderful kids. But I can tell you, right? I can tell you they're the most academically challenging group that we have. And it's great because we know that. Like, we know it. Rather than anecdotally, you know, teachers going, oh boy, those kids, they seem pretty rough. We know that we have a lot of work to do with these kids. A lot of work to do. That yellow and the red, in the benchmark is something else. The other thing we know about this group, so this is benchmark number 1 and number 2. They're challenging, but they're consistent. And they've been consistent all the way through. Yeah. They're wonderful. I wrote on my notes, I wrote flat. They're flat, and we need to understand why are they flat? Like what, how do we get these guys engaged? How do we get them connected with the material, connected with the curriculum? How do we get somebody in the blue? There's nobody in the blue. Analyzing that green and seeing, is there any on the top edge of the green that we could push over? Who are the kids that are on the top edge of the yellow that we could push into the green, or the top edge of the red and that we could push into the yellow? Like all of the above. Does that sort of make sense? I mean, that's like the analysis that we're doing. Okay. To calm fifth grade a little bit, they're fifth grades, amazing teachers, powerful teachers, powerful. This is last year, and this is again slide. I'm going fast. I'm sorry, but I'm trying to. This is slide 13. This is last year versus this year. Fifth grade is a tricky time, but it certainly shows that the curriculum hits the mark. Like we can do better than we're doing right now. And anyway, hopefully that makes sense. Boom. Subgroup data. In the same way, socioeconomic is a concern. English learner is a concern. In the fifth grade specifically, we know that the special ed folks, students are a specific concern. So anyway, it allows us, when we have this material, we can go in and click on that bar and we can see who are those kids and look at their benchmark scores, okay? Here we go. Faster, Mr. Kale, faster. Math. Now math in the third, look at this, in the third grade. Whoa, that is rocking it. Third grade, that's rocking it. That is exactly what I want to see every single time, right? It's wonderful. It's wonderful, okay? Third, zoom. First benchmark, this is page 16. First benchmark to second benchmark. What's rocking at third grade, and you know it's true. Look at the growth on the blue. Look at that. That's fantastic. Some of those green cats went up to the blue, and that is wonderful. Like that's the kind of growth. And what my dream is first benchmark, second benchmark, third benchmark. You just see growth all the way through. My hope. The year over year. So this is the second benchmark 2018 to the second benchmark 2019. You can see this. We're beginning to learn with this data processing more about our incoming second graders, you know? We can now, and that's what this system allows us to do, is later in this packet is the second grade stuff, right? We can see sort of what's coming at us. The third grade this year might be a high academic group. I mean, they very well may be. But I just love that the third grade is inspired by, they're doing really well, you know, like from last year to this year. They're really doing well. Third grade math, the same concerns, especially socioeconomic, same concerns related to the subgroups, okay? Am I going too fast, too slow? Go faster. Fourth grade, here it is. Fourth grade, I can tell you we have had the math curriculum longer, everyday math, we've had longer than benchmark materials. So it has a lot more traction, and I think it's doing really well. Fourth grade, second benchmark, doing really well in math. This is 20, from the first benchmark to the second benchmark. Again, we're seeing growth in the fourth grade in math. Like that's what this is like the model that we want to see. of that boom, 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 like it's getting better, better, better. So I'm happy with that. Look at this interesting growth. Know that so that 2018 circle, that first circle, is our challenging 5th grade group that went on to 5th grade, right? 4th grade rocks it. 4th grade rocks math, and that's great. That 5th grade group is a tricky one. I mean, the difference between 2% standard exceeded to 22% standard exceeded, wow. It's showing me that the curriculum is there, it's working, the delivery of it is working. It's the group that caused it to dip, not the show, if that makes sense. Okay.
But it also means that we have to identify the weaknesses of the group and then intervene at the level so that we can and I know everyone at Dana Gray is doing this, so it just means that we have to pay particular attention to that.
And being data-driven allows us to do that to the kid. You know, that's what all great teachers do sort of naturally. They give every kid what they need. But this lets us look very closely at what they need and deliver it. So that's good. Okay. Subgroups, same concerns. And I'm sorry, we could spend a lot of time. I spend a lot of time, like, I've looked at this for hours and hours and hours and hours. Basically all day today. Anyway, 5th grade math. Now here's something that's interesting to me. This is our most challenging group. They're not doing so bad in math. There's, again, it's having the curriculum a little bit longer, having the interventions in place longer, 3rd, 4th, 5th, stronger interventions over time. Our hope is that this 5th grade group in ELA, well, in ELA there's going to be a challenge, but in math, we're making some headway. From one benchmark to the second benchmark in math, these are the same kids. Remember, with ELA, I said they were flat, and that's why I put in my notes. They're a little flat in math as well, but at least they're more solid in their material, if that makes sense. Good. Well, what happened? Go.
Go back one.
Wait, did it zoop through one? Uh-oh.
There you go.
I broke the internet. Wait, different students? So this group is performing a little bit lower in math than the previous group. Again, with the 5th grade group, we have challenges. We have lots of supports in place. We're doing a lot of differentiated things for this group because we know they need help. But I'm not unhappy with the math curriculum.
Well, I have to tell you, Mr. Kale, this slide kind of excited me because the 2019 overall performance is a smidgen better than the previous year when we're looking at different students.
Yeah.
So that just a shout out to the teachers. They really made some growth here. That's a big deal because if you look at the performance from 2018 in the 4th grade and compared it to this, there's major growth.
Yeah.
So I think that's exciting. So good job.
Yeah. Okay. Here we go. Again, subgroups, just to think about, and for all of us to think about is, yeah, there's still a concern. Okay. Now, the last 2 slides are ones I really want to talk about, or at least I promise just a few minutes. So this takes all of our benchmarks, our #1 benchmark scores, which were given in November and December, approximately. Our #2 benchmark scores, which were given in February and March, approximately. And it has the percentages, and it compares them to the CAS scores, which are the end, right? What we're doing is we're giving benchmark #1, benchmark #2, benchmark #3, and then CAS. And the dream would be that you'd see a slide upward with benchmark number 1, benchmark number 2, benchmark number 3, and then the CASP would give you that result, right? The problem is the results are mixed. They're mixed. The benchmarks themselves come from the curriculum, right? They come from the book publisher. And of course the curriculum's aligned to the CASP, but the question is, what are the hidden things within the CASP? The way, if you talk to teachers, they'll say, but it's the way they ask the questions. It's what they ask them to do in the CASP. I've taught them how to add fractions, but it's the way they ask them to add fractions. It's the way they present it to them on the computer. It's the way they do it that somehow throws them off. Let me pick just one kind of curious kind of anomaly in this one. And it's, okay. I would think, so when I put the class of 2027, okay, I would think that if you look at the I can't point to it. If you look at the CASP score, class of 2027, so that's our 4th graders, right? They took the test for the first time last year. If you look at the standard not met, it's 36%. So at the end of the 3rd grade year, 36% of them got standard not met. Then, if you go all the way down to the bottom of that column, they took their first benchmark in the 4th grade, and only 17% of them got standard not met. The question is, and it's a real question for all of us at Dana Gray, is why aren't the CASP scores aligned to what's being produced in the benchmarks during the year? And so, and the numbers go, like, we're going to spend some great time on this as a staff because the numbers go all over the place. There's some where the numbers really improve. Like, it's like, whoa, what happened? Like, why? The kids did they did horrible in the benchmarks, and then they end up taking the CASP and they do really well. If you look at, and I'm taking way over my 5 minutes. If you look at the math, this is my last slide. If you look at the math, so I'm getting wound up now. I can go for another hour. If you look at the math, there's these same kind of curious anomalies. And I challenge you, because it's going to be our challenge. It's like a very interesting puzzle. Like, I would hope that they do benchmark 1, 2, 3, and 3rd grade, and then the CASP score would be there. And then it would be benchmark 4, 1, 2, 3, and then the CASP score there. And then, it would be like this constant nice little rise. It's not. It's this weird kind of like, let me say this in the right way though. The curricular benchmarks have a nice rise to them. They don't match that CASP. Like, that's where it goes wonky. So here's what we are considering, and I think it's probably the best course. But there's a lot, it's tricky. We would like to do more interim tests for the CASP. So the CASP test, the end of the year test, produces versions of practice tests that are complete. It must be aligned. It has to be aligned. It's the same test. It's given the same exact way. So it must be aligned. So we're going to work, and our goal is, as a staff, is to begin to put those interim tests into these benchmarks and see if we can look at this same thing and see if we can see that nice upward slide. Or at least if we knew that, let me go back to the other one. Wait, I'll go back. Sorry. Can I go backwards? If we knew that 35% of our 3rd graders got standard not met, that then when they went into 4th grade for that first test, that number would be similar. And then we would know that we're hitting exactly what we need to hit. Does that make sense? Like, the key has to be sort of cut exactly for the lock. And if our curriculum varies in a way, it's not giving, we can pat ourselves on the back as we're making them grow and grow and grow. And the kids are learning. Like, we know that they are. We can prove that they are. But when it comes to taking that test, there's some kind of strange disconnect. So we have to figure out what that disconnect is. Does that make sense? That's exactly where we're at as a staff right now. So there you go. Thank you.
Thank you.
So, Mr. Kale, I just want to thank you for your excitement, and your staff's very lucky to have you, because this is difficult to comprehend and analyze. The data is probably not really fun for everyone. And you have to realize these are children, and to have to perform on one day and have to go through all the screen set. I mean, it's pretty complicated, because I don't know how many days the benchmark versus the CAS test, they get to go at. It's difficult to have that perfect day. So there's that, they're same kids, different kids. It's still having them to perform at their maximum level on one day. And it's just curious if the fifth grade group, if they have an attendance problem. I mean, is that, it's just interesting to find what other factors. Did something in the news happen that, you're saying the one benchmark is dipped down from the first? I mean, it could be headline information that's making kids perform differently. There's so many variables, but I really appreciate that you're looking in to see how you can look at the children in a different way so that they're maximizing and how they can adapt to make the test, have them perform in a different way.
The thing for me is I really want them to be able to show what they know. Our CAS scores do not reflect the academic ability of our kids. Like, they don't. And there's something hidden within the machine that's creating it in the incorrect way. And we have to figure out what those differences are. And why we want to go to the CAS interims is I don't know, sorry, I'm going to go to a sports analogy. But they always talk about when you practice, you got to practice like you're playing the real game, right? Mm-hmm. And the closer you can get to the real game, the better the real game will be. And that's what these interim tests will allow us to do, if that makes sense. So, okay, thank you very much.
So just a quick question. So again, thank you. This is all great information. Are the subgroups, or you guys said you're in discussions about some of that?
Well, we're going to analyze, you can put the subgroups side by side and create a report related specifically to subgroups. Mm-hmm. We're going to really begin to analyze, now that we've created this data-driven culture. I mean, we really have, mm-hmm. And that data-driven culture is it's not a fear of, oh my gosh, he's going to have to present it to the board, but that we have an ultimate end game for the data, right? And that your advice and the public advice and just having data out there is sort of the first step. We're well into that now. And now what we need to do is we need to create subgroup reports that are like this. And then we can look at are we doing better with the subgroups? Are we tracking subgroups through? And then going to your point of, we can then click on the bar and say, all right, it's these same 15 kids, What can we do? What are the interventions that we have in place? Not just interventions, academic interventions, but what are the interventions, the social emotional interventions that are in place? What are the attendance related interventions that are in place? That kind of drilling down on it is what's important. Mm-hmm. And so, and it wasn't really my goal to look at subgroup, necessarily, but I think it's well worth all of our time to do that and to look at it.
Thank you. I know it's a lot of work, but I'm glad that you have passion around it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It's great.
Thank you, Mr. Kale, and thank you to the Danny Gray staff. Good job.
Hello, good evening. I'm Linda Reese, principal at Redwood Elementary School. We'll be presenting our information as well. And I love the color. Thank you so much, Mr. Kale. So as far as kindergarten goes, TK does not have any benchmarking reports. They do a DRDP, which are more by observational and getting skills. So TK is not presented. So we're going to go and start with our kindergarten class. And our kindergarten teachers truly are doing a phenomenal job this year. Their PLC meetings are heavily data-driven. They are looking at what they are actually accomplishing and how to strive to the next step. And I know that this is also a demonstration of some of our intervention that's going on with one of our TK teachers participating with our students as well. So we have a good increase in the benchmark number 2 compared to number 1, as you can see from the next slide. We're making some strides. That red is decreasing, yellow decreased. Green stayed pretty much stagnant. but the blue really jumped up. And this is, again, the same student group, same student population.
And just a reminder, no one at Redwood, no child at Redwood participates in the CASP testing. The first year of CASP testing is 3rd grade.
And then I did not do a comparison from this year's student to last year's student because I was trying to find actually a graph that would incorporate the intervention students. So with the subgroups, we are presenting our subgroup information as well, but I can guarantee you that I have students in the special education, the socioeconomically disadvantaged, and our language learner subgroups who are making gains. I can't find that data with the ones who are participating in intervention to present that graph. So that was what I was looking for. So it would be interesting if we can find that information. But I know that we're making more strides that way. So for the second benchmark, kindergarten team is really rocking it. For language arts in 1st grade, we had a increase as well. Steady numbers. Here's the comparison from our same group of students at the beginning of the year to this part of the year. Less yellow. And then our subgroups as well. As we compared our kindergarten students to our 1st grade students, our special education students, that percentage decreased. Same thing for language learners. So progress is being made. For 2nd grade, it's a tough data to look at. We were hoping for a little bit more of an increase compared to the first benchmark. A little bit more green in the second round. I would say a little bit less in the red, but again, just a little bit more stagnant. And I did ask staff, what do you think the concern might be or the issues might be? And they're looking at the students as well, but I know that they're looking at the data and their teaching processes. So. And then again, just because the blacked out, the redacted portion is because of the students that are in those subgroups are easily identified by the numbers. There might be too few of a student in that group, so that's why they're redacted, just as a reminder. Moving into math. Kindergarten is doing really well here as well. There's been progress made in the math portion. Compared with the same students. Less red. The second go around, less red. We do not currently have any math intervention at Redwood. So I'm curious why the change. Maybe the students have grown up a little bit. Maybe they're focusing more in kindergarten. Teachers are doing a great job. But if they can't Maslow, they can't bloom. So that's something that we're looking at, which is if they can't, looking at the attendance, if they're not there at school, if they're not able to have breakfast or some other issue was a distraction for them that morning, they're not going to be able to do the academic portion. So we're working hard on that. And again, as kindergarten students, our subgroups, these are the first times that these students are being tested as well. So with our special education population, I know that there's progress being made. It would just be interesting to see that with our interventions, again, with our language arts interventions, but it'd be interesting to see that different graph. 1st grade also made progress. But not as much progress as we had hoped. So the same students from the earlier of the beginning of the year to now, there's a lot of written work in now the math. So the rigor of math is increasing. There's more text. And with our subgroup population there, I'm seeing again a pattern of our socioeconomically disadvantaged, special education, and language learners from kindergarten to first grade, just making progress compared to, kindergarten to first grade. So there is progress being made. Second grade math program, these are the scores for the second benchmark this year. But I like to compare. So I'm going to go back to the comparing of the same students from the first benchmark to the second. More blue, less red, a little bit more yellow, but there's more progress being made in that area in second grade. I was recently in a second grade classroom doing an observation with the lesson, and the teacher had a great participation lesson going on. That might be a strategy that teachers are looking at to incorporate more often. The subgroups here. We've got the percentages there. And then that will complete the reporting for this period. So again, I would like to go ahead and add to this as far as not just a comparison of the previous year to this current year, but also for our intervention. I know that the students are making progress no matter which subgroup they're participate or they're identified in. We also have members in our subgroups who are just not making progress. So I'd like to find more data about the intervention going on and find out how that's impacting our students. So, any questions?
So the math intervention, was just in one grade level, or you have no math intervention at Redwood?
Great question. So as I was looking at Dana Gray's scores, the current 5th grade class was the last class to receive math intervention, I believe, at Redwood. When I entered 3 years ago, the current 4th grade class is, that was the 2nd grade class my first year here, and there was no math intervention. Something to chew on, something to look at.
You don't have it offered, or you're not?
Correct, we don't have it
eligible.
offered. We don't have that resource there. So we are really focusing on the literacy at Redwood.
Got it.
But we are also, as a district, looking at MTSS, multiple tiers, systems of support. Clearly, we've got some supports that are going on. Kindergarten, for example. It's working. What can we do for our first and second grade students?
So in the kindergarten, that's the TK teachers coming in the afternoon.
Correct.
Right,
So
yeah.
that was one of the purposes of the TK students departing midday, so that the TK teachers can come in. It's a credentialed teacher. They're doing about 30 students, 25 to 30 students per day in short amounts, consistently 4 days a week. Wednesdays are early releases. So again, just having that short consistency has shown. And they've changed it. So they've looked at the focus of those students who are performing in kindergarten and looking at their needs and have made adjustments every 6 to 8 weeks. So if a student was progressing and didn't need that, fluid, moved out, moved another student in. If they noticed that the letters were coming in, the names were coming in, okay, well, what else can we be working on? Letter sounds, sight words. So again, they're really choosing to look at the data and modify their plan of attack every 6 to 8 weeks, meeting the students' need who need that intervention, and it's showing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so kudos to them.
Thank you, Linda, for all
You're
your
welcome.
hard work in Redwood.
Yeah.
Thank you, Linda, and thank you to all the Redwood teachers. There's a lot of growth there. And thank you for our book. This is very exciting.
Okay, so now we're moving on to the CSEA.
CSEA report.
No, this
No.
is for your 2 articles.
Oh, gosh, I'm looking, poor Danette just had this look of fear. Sorry, Danette. We have 2 articles when we were in negotiations that just need to be mentioned for sunshine purposes. Article 4, organizational security. It has no financial impact in negotiations. It's something that we both forgot to sunshine because of the Janus decision that happened. So we need to fix the bargaining agreement to reflect the new law. So we are kind of sunshining that right now with you. Like I said, there's no financial implication, so we're not too worried about that. And then Article 9, the holidays are listed in the bargaining agreement, and it actually specifically lists February 12th, Lincoln's birthday, which we don't observe anymore. We have President's Day, so we have to make that change in the bargaining agreement as well. Again, no financial impact. All of our classified employees are receiving all of their holidays, but we want to fix the language so that it reflects current practice. So these two items were not sunshined. They are no financial implication, and because it is a 3-year bargaining agreement that we're opening, the whole contract is open. So it's not the year where we only get to choose 3 and 3. So we wanted to sunshine that, and I wanted to report that to the board so that when I come back with a negotiations report from CSEA, you can understand why it doesn't match our initial letter.
This is just language changing, basically.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, so we're moving on to 8.4, Flockworks, and Joanna Wigington, I saw her earlier.
So we may or may not have pictures. I think they have those, Norma. I think the board has those. Those are just if some other people want. I think the board received a little package with Heart of Dana Gray, STEAM to STEM, and a little list of the projects that we've done this year, and a very brief list of what artists do. You can all add to that. So thank you for having us. This project began, and I wish we had the keynote to go with it, because it began with Latino Coalition and starting to do a few projects as volunteers to have Hispanic culture be in Dana Gray School. And Mr. Kale welcomed us, and the art teacher at the time. Well, that's what I handed out.
Yeah, this is what you sent and was in the board packet.
Right. No, the keynote has just wonderful pictures of the kids doing their art. And if anybody is interested in the full portfolio of each project expanded with the pictures and with the comments and all the materials that went in, it's a lengthy portfolio because we're seeing this as a pilot project. Anyway, after this year where Ann Harvey and I were in the classrooms 3 or 4 times doing these projects just to kind of promote Hispanic culture, we got kind of attached to the kids, and we were welcomed there, and we had a lot of fun. And then in the summer, when we realized that the art teacher funding was cut for a specific art teacher, I was kind of brokenhearted, and I so believe in the arts that I was on my soapbox, and finally somebody gave me $25,000 to shut me up. And so with that $25,000, we were able to hire Norma Trejo, and we thought it was important to have somebody who was bilingual, who had great energy and enthusiasm. So Norma is the art resource person and supported by Safe Passage Family Services, and I'm just old and retired. And we create projects, and every week we go to Dana Gray, 5 days a week, and all the kids funnel through and have art class. And it's been an incredible experience. I can tell you, one of the 5th grade things is their social agenda is off the charts. The difference between presenting a project to the 3rd graders who go, and the 5th graders who go, is night and day. But it isn't our first rodeo, so we station ourselves in hawk-like fashion to intercede. Sometimes I stand in front of certain very cute people, so other people don't see them. Anyway, I want to thank you for trusting us. Becky signed an MOU, Mr. Kale did, of saying, okay, you don't work for us. Who are you? You sound good. Let's see. And for us, it's been a very important thing to have this pilot project and have it be even bigger in the community. The Rotarians have just given us over $3,000. The Seroptimists gave us another $500. 4 private donors gave us several $100s each for more materials. And it's just been exciting and fun. And unfortunately, the one thing I didn't want to have happen was I did not want to get attached to all these children and care about them. I was like, no, I'm retired, I'm out of here. And I've been there almost every day just because we love art. So I think I'm here to always have art in the public conversation, whether it's with the board, whether it's at city council, whether it's when I'm driving Mr. Kale crazy. And So the school district has really extended us a lot of trust. We would like to involve even a widening community so that everybody recognizes that an art education is an essential part of being human. And I guess the first thing I have to say after being there for this whole year for all of us, see, we sometimes forget what's right in our backyard, but I have to mention that the teachers at Dana Gray are an excellent team to work with. The good and the bad is because Norma is not credentialed, because we wouldn't want to go around the union, there wasn't money to hire a teacher, so we had to have somebody not credentialed run this program. The teachers have to come with their students. So they're in the room. So it's a collaboration, and it's been a wonderful one. These teachers have incredible skills and competence, and I've been in the ed biz and the medical biz for all my life, doing child development on several levels. And I guess I wasn't surprised, I was just kind of whatever, I was open to what was there. And the quality of these teachers, their dedication, their competence, the care that they have for it consistently has been notable. You know, when you've taught for 50 years, you think you know a lot, but I have learned a lot from many of these teachers, and they're very generous with their time. Even Ron, who's very protective of the closet, he delivered 6 rolls of masking tape yesterday, and he's on our side. He lets me go in there unattended now into the closet. It is I mark that as our biggest coup, everything, which has been a wonderful thing. Anyway, I guess we're here to tell you that creativity fosters problem solving, whole brain thinking, resiliency. One of the processes we had was we had some great ideals when we started of art projects, very much art oriented in art history. And we rapidly saw that so many kids were lacking in basic skills. So it's like, shh. We started doing more projects that had just basic cutting skills. We had a significant number of kids whose fine motor skills. And of course, at that age, the learning curve can be really fast, because if you haven't done a lot of cutting with scissors and a lot of certain kinds of things, you've got the skills if you have the opportunity. We did 4 weeks of sewing, because everybody should know how to sew, everybody should know how to cook. And, you know, a few kids said, I don't think I want to sew. That wasn't what happened. You know, they really got into it. And the competence to be able to sew. The last day, there was a boy sewing his 3rd fish, going, I could mend a hole in my pants. You could. People have done that. They used to do that. But no, I could. You could. Do you have a hole in your pants? Yeah. Oh, I could. It's like, yes, you could. And now we're doing a major project that I hope you'll come see called Affordable Housing. And it's artists collaborating. It's 430 artists who are going to create an installation, all out of recycled cardboard. Everybody, nobody now, we've got a lot of trust, because nobody calling in all this cardboard says, what are they doing? And it's artists making a statement. We all know we need more affordable housing, and these kids are going to solve it. There are some absolutely genius kids solving interesting problems. We're going to do it for 4 weeks, because this first week, the skills, here are kids trying to put glue on a line like this and wonder why it doesn't stay up. And they need time to be able to figure out, how are you going to get that? I don't know. L braces, triangles, whatever. String from the ceiling. Well, I don't know. How are you going to do that? They need to have this first week of introducing this to make a lot of mistakes, which are what learning is about. So it's been very interesting. We've learned a lot about these kids, and I think we've tried to always have a component of math in every art project we've done. We have a language component. Those are in the portfolios. And a language, I began to realize a lot of kids were sitting there like this. And there's no teacher on earth who can do anything when you're like, they have to be here and want to do it. And starting to ask questions like, well, what's going to happen next? Using needle threaders, putting the needle thread in, what's going to happen next? oh. And you can't move on until you make a guess. This whole STEM program is great, but you want to put STEAM in STEM. You don't want just any old STEM. You got to have the STEAM to make it go. So our goal is to renew this grant for next year until the greater powers of the state and the federal government realize that they have to fund us abundantly for education. And then our problem is, do we hire 2 art teachers and 3 music teachers? Until we have that problem, the community has to step forward. The Rotarians instantly put up money because I tasked them with this group of kids couldn't sit there and wait until we're funded. The community has to pick up some of the slack. And that has got to be part of, I think, the conversation we have. We can't let things that are essential to kids go just because of money. Money is huge. I understand that. It is an issue. But we can't let it go just as that being the excuse, whether it's getting more volunteers, whether it's beating the doors with your little penny can. It has to happen to have all our kids have that kind of a quality education that has essentially stimulating parts that are great for brain development. So enough already. So sorry you can't see the pictures because the pictures are great. But come to Dana Gray, come see affordable housing in action. The halls are full of art right now. And darn about the pictures, because you know a picture, 1,000 words.
Thank you, Joanna. We really appreciate all you've done.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Norma.
And thank you, Norma.
So I just want to say, when I did a tour at Dana Gray, I went into the classroom doing all that, and it was great to see the kids and the teachers engaged, and just your passion and drive to bring it to the school is so appreciated, so thank you.
And the halls are just bulging with art. It's amazing. So it's beautiful for all your volunteer work.
And it's wonderful that the kids, you've created the culture there, that the kids leave it alone. You know, at the beginning, it was very, but now, I mean, really, it's hanging, and I mean, kids have to duck and move, and it's been there for weeks. So thank you so much for creating that culture.
We don't call the room classroom. We call it the studio, and we're like.
So Joanna, if you're going to talk, you have to go to the mic because our viewers at home can't hear you. So what she said, okay, she said they don't call the art classroom, they call it the studio.
Awesome. All artists are welcome.
All artists are welcome. Thank you for all your hard work. It's been great.
I don't even have to say anything. Pilar is on her way.
I wasn't paying attention to the agenda. Look, I'm so excited about what's going on there. I think I forgot what I'm supposed to talk about. That's amazing, amazing stuff going on. Thank you for that. So I'm Pilar Gray, Director of Nutrition Services for Fort Bragg Unified School District. I am here tonight to talk to you about a very exciting opportunity for our district. And that is something in the school lunch world that we call community eligibility provision.
So Pilar, I have right now that this is about the wellness committee as well.
Yes,
it's
ma'am.
both. Sorry.
It's both, yeah.
Please proceed. Sorry,
No worries. I'm going to start with my nutrition hat because this is, we'll move on to wellness policy later. So anyway, the community eligibility provision, what that is a provision within the National School Lunch and Breakfast Program that allows a district to apply based on an identified student population, which is determined by something we call direct certification. And what direct certification means is that the family qualifies for free meals based on participation in another programs such as CalFresh, which is the newer for food stamps, Medi-Cal at the free rate, migrant education, homelessness. There's various manners by which we can direct certify students for free meals. And if you have a high enough percentage of the students in your district who qualify through direct certification, you can apply for community eligibility provision. And we'll call it CEP from now on. So CEP, what that means is that every student in the district eats for free. And parents no longer have to apply for free and reduced meals. It's done based on our direct certification numbers. Our direct certification numbers have gone up tremendously since the state has now, the federal government and the state have now allowed us to use Medi-Cal as part of a determination. So our identified student population is pretty high. So it's very exciting in the sense that it eliminates all that paperwork of free and reduced applications. It levels the playing field. Every kid gets to eat for free. And I think it's a really particularly great thing for California because how children qualify for free and reduced meals, that eligibility scale is a federal scale. And as we all know, the cost of living in California is tremendously higher than a lot of other states. And so we have a lot of families in this state and in this district particularly who do not qualify for free and reduced meals, and they are barely getting by. I mean, they're really struggling. And so this allows them to have access to free school meals also, which is really, really helpful for them. And then the motivation for us, besides that it's great for kids, great for the families, it lessens our paperwork. And I've been watching other districts do this. This year, Willits and Ukiah Unified both changed the CEP. Some other districts have gone ahead of us, years before. I've reached out to these districts and say, hey, what happened? How'd it go? Because this really, to be successful, relies upon your meal participation going up. And across the board, everyone said, yes, it went up tremendously. So, because now suddenly people don't have to worry about digging out that $2 or $3 for their meal. They don't have to worry about the bill. So more kids participate in the meal program. So the school meal program, our revenue is driven by the amount of sales we make. The more sales, the more revenue. So that should, hopefully help the budget. I've looked at different numbers on how this could work for us. Once you hit a certain identified student population, you're required to do it. Dana Gray is like this far away from being required to do it. We're that high up in our numbers. Every other school site qualifies for sure. So we could do it district-wide. There's different ways you can do it. You can group your schools in different ways to maximize the numbers, and so I'm kind of playing with that and seeing how it looks. And I've done some projections. The projections I provided to the board were based on March 7th numbers. I ran the numbers again on April 1st because that is the number that the state will go by, our direct certification number on the 1st. And between March 7th and April 1st, I pulled another report from CalPADS and our social services and went through with a fine-tooth comb and found every other student who might have qualified on an application, but was now also could be direct certified, and shifted them over. So the numbers went up for us, which is really good. So there's a slight risk in it, because if participation does not go up, we could lose money. But we're gonna, the gamble is that the participation will go up. And that's what most districts have shown. But what I ran on the April 1st numbers, if we were on CEP today with no increase in participation whatsoever, it would be about a $13,000 loss. So you're banking on that increase. But again, I had dinner with a lunch lady from Willits last weekend, and she said oh my gosh, she says, we're doing like 100 more meals a day at just her school. She says, it's insane how much it's gone up. I ran into Jim from Ukiah Unified. Did your numbers go up? Oh my gosh, yes, they went up. Talked to Madera. They've done it district-wide. Oh, he's estimating a 10 to 15% increase at his districts. So statistically, it goes up. But I just want full disclosure. If it doesn't go up, there's a gamble. I believe it'll go up. And worst case scenario, it doesn't. We could always go back to what we've done before. It's not, you marry it for life. So I would recommend that we try this next year, that we give it a go, and see how it works out for us. Any questions about CEP? Wow.
I just wonder if we could look around between now and then about maybe the advertising and things that they do, like Diana was talking about in an email about. Gosh, sorry, it's been the advertising, I guess, per se, of the meal, push the meals, and start building the hype to,
you definitely
be proactive on not having the numbers go
because
down.
I think it is a quality lunch, and families, you know, the kids are squirmish, but if maybe they have some, especially the older middle school, they have leadership, that they'd have kind of a buy-in if they had some control over the menu. Because I know they don't do lunch sticks there because of the timing and everything, but just, I think once parents see that there is fresh food coming out, that they don't, I mean, I don't know how you can make a lunch with the quality and the choices. I mean, speaking of middle school, because I've been there the most, but you can't buy that,
Right.
you know, at that rate.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I mean, it's even as it is, it's a bargain compared to buying a Lunchable. But
I can't believe you said that word, Pilar.
Well, it's even cheaper than the $5 Safeway sushi. You know,
it is. But it's you know, for the people that still have to come up with the money. Maybe they're just going to make that PB&J at home and send it in, whatever it is. So, but if we opt to go to CEP, it is definitely absolutely must be promoted. First of all, you have to, it's mandatory, but of course you want to tell your community, you want the families to come in, you want them to participate in this. So we would definitely have to do a big push on promotion.
So I have a question. So on maintaining our CEP eligibility, so we're not going to have folks bringing in free and reduced lunch forms. So then you would be going into the direct eligibility to kind of accessing our students.
Yes, that would all be done within my office. I do it. I do the direct certification. It comes from the county and it comes through CalPads. We get it in 2 venues. And the nice thing about CEP is once you qualify, you've got it for 4 years. But if your numbers go up, you let the state know that, no, hey, we have more direct certified kids now than we did before, and you ask for an increase. But they don't decrease you.
Okay.
Until you have to renew. After 4 years, you have to renew. And at that time, if it's dropped, you can ask for a waiver for a year to hold at your original numbers. So, you know, if your numbers are good when you start, your numbers are good for several years, and they have the potential of going up as your direct. And in 14 years here, I've just seen the direct certification go up every single year. Our poverty level, unfortunately, sadly, is going up. And our community is very good. In this community, I imagine we must have a very good social services department and a lot of outreach through our family resources centers and stuff to connect people with these programs, because people in this community really tap into what's available to them. And that's where those numbers come from. Yeah.
And so, Pilar, when we met, I want to say before spring break, and we talked about CEP, we looked at numbers, and one of the things that you had pointed out was that we could easily increase our lunch numbers at Dana Gray in the middle school in order to keep CEP going, because we were concerned about the high school, because the high school is not a closed campus, and we have no big cafeteria at the high school. We have the student union, but the student union can't hold 500 students. So it was one of the things someone had said, well, what about closing the high school campus for lunch? Well, we really don't have an eating facility for the high school. So we do have an open campus, and the student union perfectly houses the kids who remain. But I just wanted to note in the conversation that we had that we really didn't see it as something that was going to be difficult to achieve or difficult to even get more numbers.
Mm-hmm.
We really believe that if we said, hey, everybody gets lunch, I think more kids are going to eat. I mean, that's just the logical place to go.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So
yeah, we're slightly nervous in my department about
Right.
Are we prepared for the capacity?
That's what I was wondering.
well,
That was my
and
next
I would say
question.
that one of the things that we'd have to talk about is really preparing that first couple of weeks of doing lunch counts. Like, we don't typically do lunch counts at the middle school and the high school, but I think we would really have to look at that, because we can't have it that we say, okay, free lunch for all, and all of a sudden we have 100 more meals at Dana Gray, and we're not prepared for it. So Dana Gray and Redwood's going to be a little bit easier to manage because we do lunch counts, but middle school and high school, it's going to be up to your staff how you want to navigate that.
Yeah, my guesstimate would be that our highest increase would be at middle school, because our Redwood participation is pretty darn good already, and as is Dana Gray's. But there's certainly room for, increase at both sites, all sites. So, and it won't take a tremendous amount of increase to break even, to be where we're at, to not lose any money. And then, you get more people in, well, then you're starting to generate more money. And most importantly, this is a great service for our community. And it'll save, just like going online registration, the amount of money we spend each year printing free and reduced meal applications and this ridiculous amount of packet that we have to send out because it's a federal program. There's umpteen disclosures we have to send and letters, and it's this ridiculously big packet of paper for free and reduced applications no one really looks at. So, I mean, it would be a little bit of a cost savings there as well. And so I'm hopeful for it. I think, you know, in every district I'm talking to is saying, yes, we are happy we did this. We are so thrilled we did this. I have not encountered a district yet that's pulling off. And it's been around for a number of years. This is not brand new. It's just our numbers were, I've been looking at this for several years. Our numbers were not high enough. Last year we were pretty close, but I was taking the cautious approach and waiting to see what happened at Ukiah and Willits. And particularly at Willits, because their population is very similar to ours. And it's been successful for them.
So next steps, if we decide to do this, would it need to be a board approval? How?
If you choose to make it a board approval option, you could. I mean, it's not necessary on my end. All I have to do is apply to the state.
So there's no resolution that's necessary or anything?
No,
that's my question.
No, I just have to, you know, and I'm sure I'm going to be hearing from the state any day now too, saying we have to do it, because last year they're saying you needed to do it, but they had their numbers wrong. But they'll notify us very shortly that we're qualified to do it, no doubt. And then we'll go through the process. We need to apply by the end of June.
Okay. So this decision will be made mid-June if we have to apply by mid-June, correct?
We have to apply by the end of June, and it would be really wonderful to have that decision made sooner.
So it would be nice if we made the decision so we could publicize it before the start of the school year. We could get the word out. It would make sense for us to make that decision and put it on the board agenda for the May regular board meeting, so that we can have that discussion. And I would prefer it to be a board action, only so that we could have some public input. We can have a greater discussion about it, and then we can put it on the books as a board action. What are your thoughts?
I mean, if the state says you will do it.
Well, then it's not a board action.
Yeah, for the numbers I pulled, we are not required, because the requirement level is 62.5%. The only site that is above that is alternative ed, but your community day schools are exempt from the requirement because they're so small. They're not going to make you do it. Dana Gray is at 60.91%. So we're like a percent away from, you know, a little bit over a percent away from being required to do it at Dana Gray. Without, you know, and you can do this at just particular school sites, but that doesn't make sense to me in this small of a community. I think that would just confuse everybody. I think if you're going to do one, you do them all.
Agreed. So let's go ahead and put this on the board agenda for
Super.
May, regardless, and we can put it under action, and if we don't need to take action, we'll tell you we're in. And if we need to make a formal decision, then we'll do it at the May meeting so that we have clear communication and we can get the word out to folks.
Okay. In the meantime, if you come up with questions, you always know where to find me. Happy to answer them.
Well, just a couple. So this is great, I think, for one. Thank you for the information. So obviously food costs will go up, right? More staff needed if you're serving a couple more hundred lunches a day?
The hope is not. We have to see what happens. We have to see what plays out. But typically, no.
Okay.
It really depends on what sort of, you know, we're already looking at next year at streamlining how we do some of our foods in middle school and high school because of other requirements that we're doing for our charter school to assist them in their requirements for meals. But particularly at elementary, where you're dealing with things like you're making spaghetti, you know, to throw that many more noodles into the pot, that much more sauce doesn't make that big of a difference.
Right.
You know, where it starts making more of a difference on your staffing is when you're looking more at your middle school and high school model, where you're doing all the choices and you're having individually packaged foods and that sort of thing. I don't predict a tremendous increase at high school because of the open campus.
So my question about that in high school is, you know, what is considered a meal? I mean, I can see a lot of kids before they leave campus walking in, grabbing an apple and a muffin and leaving. Is that considered? I mean, so there could be a way, I think, to get more high school students to, it's free food.
Yeah, you would think. You would think,
what
yes.
teenager doesn't like free food?
Right. You know, I think, and that's one of the things that's nice about CEP because it removes the stigma of the free lunch. Because I think there's certainly, particularly with your teens, often an attitude that they don't want to be in there because it might be considered that they need that free meal. And it's, you know, although we have a lot of paid students and some of our, you know, wealthiest community members' kids eat with us every day, but there's still that the perception. And so when you go to CEP, it's free for everybody. It removes that. It removes that potential embarrassment. So that's one of the reasons they also say that it helps increase your participation.
Sure.
So I think that that's part of it with the high school. I think it's also environmental, that it's crowded and it's not very welcoming. And that's a challenge. And I think that's a very big challenge at our middle school as well. It's barely controlled chaos. I mean, there's so many kids in there at one time. It's intense, and they're very high energy kids at that age level. So, and it's very difficult. So.
But it's very, I mean, fast.
It is,
That
it is.
They want to give you about a second, but maybe, I know this would be horrible master schedule, but having the sixth graders, like changing the way that the lunch is. I mean, I know that would keep the lines down if you had just sixth grade going and then, you know, but that's a site decision. Just like you
Yeah.
could tweak other things to.
Well, we did that
make
for
it flow.
for many years. We had sixth grade separate from seventh and eighth, and it was a much better environment, and our sales were better.
Yeah, I mean, it's
But
just
that-
something
that
to
decision's
talk
out of my
about at
control,
the-
so.
Yeah, at the site level.
And I think
Yeah.
it would be good for May, I don't know if it's possible to get some data on how many kids currently don't get lunch that would get lunch. I mean, how easy is it going to be to bring the number of meals so we don't lose any money and actually get more money?
Well, as long as you're not adding labor, the added food costs are null and void because you're getting the reimbursement that covers it. I mean, the average cost that goes into the meal is only about $1.31 in supplies and food.
Right.
And if you don't increase your labor, that's why school meals are driven by participation. They're driven by the more sales that you make. So you can have, you know, and you still need basically the same level of staffing if you're serving 100 meals or if you're serving 200 meals. Because you have to have, for our requirements, you have to have someone at the point of sale ensuring that it's reimbursable. You got to have someone on the line serving it. There's food safety implications and so forth. So there's only so much you can reduce your staffing before you're getting yourself into big trouble. So the idea is to get more sales.
Right, but you said that if levels stay the same, we lose 13% in the budget?
If we were, if
13,000.
today, if we did this, you know, with the numbers we'd had through our March, our participation through March, if we were on the CEP percentage, because basically they reimburse you all the meals at a percentage of free and a percentage of paid, depending on your ISP number, it would have been a $13,000 loss. And that would have been zero increase, exactly the sales that we had this year. So this will depend on increased participation to be successful.
I can't imagine that we wouldn't have a big increase.
I can't imagine we will not have increased participation either, but I just want to have full disclosure that there is an element of it could go wrong. I think so. Please don't say I never warned you. But if it goes wrong, well, then we go back.
Well, and one of the things that we talked about, seriously, it's going to go up on breakfast alone for middle school and high school because it is closed campus at that time. And so if everybody gets a free breakfast at that time, that one's going to go up, and that's part of our numbers. So we know that's going to increase because that's easy. I mean, the middle school and high school in under 15 minutes serves an enormous amount of students. I mean, it is a quick process. So right there, I know that our breakfast is for sure going to go up. So that's going to help. And then with lunch, if we're really just banking on the middle school increasing a little bit, that's what's going to save it. If we just say, okay, at lunch, the high school's going to do the same because of the situation with the high school and negate that completely, but look at the middle school doing a 10% improvement, we're going to be fine.
Yeah.
And those are the numbers that Pilar sat down with Wendy and I for us to discuss. So
I really think that, like Scott was saying, that I think if every kid was free, the high school kids will come, I think a lot of them will come in and get something to eat. Because, yeah, they may have a friend that drives, but they may not have the money to go to buy something at B&C, but they can take them.
If they're smart, they'll grab the free food and go sit on Todd's Point.
Well, that's what I think a lot of high school kids, especially you mentioned the breakfast, I think, you know, before class, they'll run in, grab what they can, and that's what was my question is, what is considered a meal? And if a student runs in and grabs an apple, is that?
No.
Okay.
No, they're absolutely, there's meal requirements.
But if they're waiting in line that long to get the apple, they'll take the
Right, the
sandwich.
other
they'll
stuff
take the
too,
bagel
yeah.
and the milk.
Yeah.
You know,
Good.
and, you know, future vision, someday we hope to have grab-and-go carts on the way out to the parking lot. Yeah, but the challenge with that is you need a person at that grab-and-go cart, and the staffing is what costs us the most. But the
And you need
vision's
a
there.
computer to record who's coming
Yeah,
in
well,
and
you
out.
can get equipment grants for the, you know, for the equipment, but the person is what's gonna cost, so. But that's, you know, has been a long time vision of mine for high school to have those grab-and-go carts to get those kids on the way out, but we've just never had enough number participation revenue to support another staff member to be out there.
Maybe that'll
So,
change.
maybe it'll change, that's the hope, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is great, thank you.
Superb.
Thank
Any
you.
more questions on CEP at this moment? Okay, well, if you're middle of the night, something comes to you, just call me later. So I'm going to switch gears now to the Wellness Committee. So the Wellness Committee met on March 27th, which was great to have our Wellness Committee revived and active again. The Wellness Committee is a group within the district that is made of all sorts of interested parties, ideally students, parents, teachers, administrators, anybody, everybody is welcomed, professionals. You don't even have to have a kid in the school. If you're interested, come on out. Our Wellness Committee back in the day was pretty active and got this great policy going and rolling, and everything was wonderful, and then it was so great. Everybody just got left alone. And so now we're reviving it and getting our committee back up and active again. And at our first meeting, what we did is a school district to have a wellness policy is a federal requirement, and there's requirements around that, and one of them is that we do self-assessment. And how well is our wellness policy doing? And as the name implies, a wellness policy is to encourage healthy living within your district, healthy habits for everybody, not just the students. So anywho, our site administrators each completed a self-survey of their school site about how well they thought the wellness policy was doing there, and gave the data back to the committee. And we just used a simple rubric to determine how well we were on target based on this rubric of things that the ideal wellness policy would be achieving. And you could see it up there how we did. The policy itself, we were pretty much 68% on target. School environment 75, which is wonderful. Where we were lowest was in our community partnerships and parent involvement. That doesn't surprise me. So, but overall, doing okay, doing all right. So we looked at that data, and then we switched gears and looked at the policy itself and kind of went over the policy to say, is it good? Does it need revision? Because that's the other thing the committee's supposed to do, is bring it to the board if there's any recommendations for changes to the existing policy. The committee unanimously agreed that we thought the policy was good as it stands, and it's in not need of any revision at this time. It's a really strong policy. A lot of work was put into that many years ago, and it's held well. And I think our district does really well with its wellness environment. So, given all that we're feeling like we're solid on the what we have to do, it's like, hey, what do we want to do? And so the committee decided we wanted to really be an inspiration for healthy lifestyles within the district and get some promotional activities going. And one of our esteemed wellness committee members had a wonderful idea to do something called Tennis Shoe Tuesdays, and which we had our first one this last Tuesday, where everybo's encouraged to wear their tennis shoes that day to school or work, and to take a 10 or 20-minute walk to encourage people to get over the sedentary lifestyle. I mean, they're now saying a sedentary lifestyle is worse for you than smoking. And we spend way too much time sitting behind computers and at desks. We need to get up and move regularly. So the idea between Tennis Shoes Tuesdays was, hey, put your shoes on, get up sometime during the day, take a walk, grab out your cell phone, take a selfie, and send it to Anna, who's putting it on our website. And then if you did that, you would get yourself some bling, okay, to put on. We at the district, we all wear little lanyards or other IDs, or you can put it on your autism shirt. I see Diana's got hers on. So anybody who participates in Tennis Shoe Tuesday gets a button. And we kind of got this from Disneyland. You know how they have all the button exchange and things like that. And to encourage staff to wear their bling around so students will see and go, hey, that's cool. My teacher's active. I want to be active too. And that lead by example sort of idea. So our committee can certainly use more involvement. People at home. We really need to get, it would be really nice to have some students involved, to have more parents, teachers, anybody. Come on and join us. Our next meeting is tentatively scheduled for Thursday, September 19th. And we do have a couple other committee members here, so if there's anything I left out or you want to chime in, please feel free.
What time is that meeting?
3:30?
Yes.
Thank you, Anna. 3:30.
At the district office?
Yes.
Unless it gets too large.
In case our committee gets too large, which would be so exciting. It'd be so amazing.
It's pretty full.
We had a pretty good start. We had a pretty good little group, but it would be nice to get some of the kids in there and maybe a few more parents. We did have parents, but it'd be good to have some more. So, and teachers. That's why it's at 3:30, so they can come after school. Okay. Any questions about our wellness committee? And what she has up there is just our wellness policy at a glance, which is something that we hand out to classrooms, just to remind our teachers and families of some of the most relevant points that affect the classrooms out there that are part of the policy itself. Things like what foods can or cannot be used in the classroom, physical activity, super important. We're encouraging it. Do not use it as a punishment. We want kids to love physical activity, not fear it. So, and that's what that document is. That's showing on the screen at the moment. Any questions? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Pilar.
Okay, so we'll do the next two and then we'll take a break, just stretch break.
Let me go.
Hello, Danette.
Hello. So good evening, everyone. My name is Danette Sawyer, and I am the union president. Start off on April 15th, tax day. We had our negotiating team meet with Becky and Wendy for negotiations. This being my first time, I think it all went pretty well. There were a few items we could not get to in time, and we'll finish on May 9th, which I sent you an email verifying that.
Thank you, by the way, for your flexibility.
Oh, you're very welcome. At our meeting, we did discuss the paraprofessional summer academy, and I do have quite a few people who are interested in that. And I am also going to send out an email because we did not get a whole lot of members come to our meeting. So I will also shoot that email out to them, and hopefully we'll have some more who are interested. And last on my list is our retirees. On May 22nd, we will be honoring all of our classified retirees at Roundtable at 4 p.m. We'll be having pizza and cake. So please stop in and say goodbye to Ron Burns, our Dana Gray custodian, Charlie Crane, high school custodian, Teresa Hayter, our middle school aide, Chris Downing, middle school aide, and last but not least, our beloved Linda Stevens, Redwood secretary. She has taught me what she could in such a short amount of time as union president, and it will take years to be as great as she was at this. May 22nd, 4 o'clock at Roundtable. And I will not hesitate to call and bug her when I need advice. So thank you for everyone, and hope to see people May 22nd.
And just a plug, because we didn't have Charlie Crane on this list. I believe Charlie was acknowledged in a previous board agenda at a previous board meeting because he had submitted his retirement a bit earlier. So, but I've worked with Charlie a lot of years. He's a good man. So
He retires at the end of this month on April 30th.
So Charlie's going to a happy place. We're all jealous, Charlie. Thank you, Danette.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so I think I need to get up and get a little blood moving. So can we take
Can we do, just
Yeah,
make, see if 8.7, if anyone's here for that, just in case?
Oh, sorry, I didn't see anybody, so,
Okay.
sorry. Is there anybody from the FBDTA? Okay. All right, so now we'll take a 5-minute break, please. Stretch, bathroom, we'll be right back to move to our.
Yes.
All right, so we're coming back to the approval of the agenda consent items. These are non-controversial and routine items. And does anybody have anything they need to have pulled or want to discuss? Okay, we are a lively bunch. Okay,
Our audience left.
I guess I will call for a motion, please.
I move to approve the consent items.
I second.
Okay. All in favor?
Yes.
Yes,
Should we read them before or after? Sorry.
before.
Okay. Diana, will you read them, please?
9.1 warrants. There's no date. I think that was for March 2019. 9.2 board minutes, regular board meeting March 7th, 2019, special board meeting minutes March 14, 2019, personal action report. 9.3, 9.4 is budget to actual report through February 2019, and 9.5 is the Williams quarterly reporting.
Okay. All in favor?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Board action items, 10.1, the first item is the Fort Bragg Senior Center. And I see that Jill's here. So you get to go to the podium and introduce yourself for the people at home.
And the audience.
Hello, I'm Jill Rexroad, the Executive Director at the Redwood Coast Senior Center. So what we are planning on doing at the recommendation of the Public Health Department is replacing the existing linoleum in the kitchen. Currently, it does not meet the present code standards. We need to have 4-inch coving going up the wall, and we don't have that presently. So I received a bid from the floor store for $16,000 for the replacement of that floor. And according to our lease agreement, anything over $5,000 requires board approval. So I'm here to seek board approval.
Well, it's wonderful you're spending money on our building.
Isn't it though? It's really great.
My only question was on the other part of the work where you got roughly $40,000 to do numerous other things.
Well, coincidentally, yesterday I had Mendo Lake Termite Company come and do a full inspection of the building, and I'll receive that report probably on Monday. I'm hiring Jim Deering, who is a former general contractor, and he does building inspections. He's going to do a supplemental report for the electrical and the plumbing. I also have an on-call maintenance person who had to do a repair of one of the toilets, and he couldn't find the emergency or the main shut off for the water, so he crawled into the building and saw a lot of plumbing leaks underneath the kitchen. So, you know, it's all a matter of planning. When the kitchen is shut down, and that's the time to fix the plumbing. So there will be things going hand in hand. Also, too, I actually had a bucket in my office during one of the storms because a leak sprung through in the corner, and another one just outside the door. So I went to the city of Fort Bragg and looked up the permits that are on file, and the roof is 21 years old. It's a combination of composition and rolled roofing. And from what I understand from others that have been up on the roof, I don't particularly care to go up there myself. There is sort of a dip where the water pools, so there might need to be some kind of little construction in addition to the roofing repair. The windowsills are rotting. I actually can see the curtains blow in the wind, and my windows are closed in my office. Honestly. There are holes. There are the original windows, and the building's 91 years old, as most of you know. So there are numerous repairs, and in order to prioritize them correctly, I thought that getting the inspections were definitely in order so that we can see where we're at and plan accordingly. Okay. So I'll be back for more.
So then you'll be back after you get your inspections before you commence with any of the work?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, after what I would like to do is get the approval for the floor, because I need to coordinate with, I think, Becky, either that or Laura, for use. Becky and I had discussed using the kitchen because we serve approximately 120 meals to homebound seniors per day, and we would like to be able to continue that service for them while we're closed. The floor store said that we would need to be closed for a week. So we won't have any congregate dining available, but we would like to continue Meals on Wheels. And in order to do that, Becky has offered to perhaps use the kitchen at the middle school and plan it during the time that there isn't any summer school in session, so that we could go ahead and continue that program. And plus our refrigerators are close by.
It made a whole lot of sense. And
Yeah.
the middle school's our biggest
Yeah.
it's our biggest kitchen, so it'll be a facility that they can use. It's just a matter of coordinating with custodial to make sure that the deep clean that we do happens after, not before. So, but we'll make it work. And Jill, I just want to publicly applaud everything that you're doing at the senior center.
Thank you.
Because you've jumped in and just taken the bull by the horns and really looked at the facilities and looked at the things that need to get done. And it's a tough lens to have to look through a lot of years and trying to figure out where to prioritize. Because in the 3 years that I've been superintendent, we haven't had any repairs at the senior center.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I've done several repairs, fairly minor repairs, like in the bathroom. Wiggle the handle to turn off the faucet. I'm like, well, just get a new faucet. So goofy things like that is, so, little by little, I'm nipping away at just the obvious, but now we're looking at the big picture of really getting some serious repairs done.
So thank you.
Yes, thank
So
you.
just one question, thank you as well. Using the middle school kitchen, is there any risk if there's slip or falls for non-district?
So we would have to work that out. We'd have to work out the insurance. It's not just a matter of a handshake and saying, hey, Jill, go use the kitchen. We'd have to look at who's going to claim the insurance liability. We'd have to do a facility use form and have to figure out how to cover that piece. And then we'd have to make sure that their kitchen people have all the appropriate food handler's license and kitchen manager's license, which I'm sure they
But
do.
we don't have to charge them because we normally.
Well, that's something that we would have to talk about, we would have to talk about the facility use and how to figure that out.
Nice if we
And it might
didn't
just
have
be something very simple of just covering the utilities and the propane, but that's something that we need to figure out.
And it's only going to be for a 5-day period.
It's only a week.
And it would basically only be the propane for cooking, because we are going to have all of our big refrigerators and all of the equipment that's in the kitchen presently will be rolled into our dining hall and plugged in. So.
Oh, great.
Yeah. It's just the stove and propane.
We'll
which won't be
figure
that
out,
much.
we'll figure out the logistics. We're not going to make this, hard on the
Overly
senior center and say,
complicated.
hey, let's make some money. So it's not, that's not the case at all. We want to try and do this as seamlessly as possible. This is our community. So we'll absolutely do our best and make sure that we get it covered. And
Yeah, I also want to paint the outside of the building and get together. I don't know, would it be Barry that I would contact to see where you purchased the windows for the middle school? I'd like to be able to match those if possible, so that everything is very seamless and tied in.
that's great.
Yeah.
Yes, please just make an appointment with Barry and he'll help you out.
Okay, great.
With all those logistics.
Okay. Thank you.
Great, thanks,
Thank
Jill.
you. All right, any other questions for Jill or no public comment?
We're giggling here for the 9 of you watching on YouTube because our audience at the break has all escaped. Jill is remaining. Oh,
Oh, maybe some of the people who were here went home to watch.
well, there you go.
With their pajamas on.
We tripled our viewership in
did.
just a matter of an hour and a half.
Okay, so I think we're ready for a motion if we don't have any other questions for Jill or
So essentially, we're approving the carpet. or the-
linoleum.
the vinyl,
Linoleum coating.
installation. Okay, so I so move.
I'll second it.
Any discussion?
Okay. President Babcock?
Yes.
Trustee Paoli?
Yes.
Trustee Mattson?
Yes.
Trustee Makala?
Yes.
And Trustee Schneider?
Yes?
All right, thank you, Jill.
Thank you.
So
See you again probably in about a month.
Thank you, Jill.
So So 10.2 is our MOU with FBUSD and Humboldt State University.
So we haven't used this MOU in quite a while. Our student teachers are not typically from Humboldt State. So with that said, our MOU expired. There's nothing new in it. It's the same MOU that we've maintained for years and years. The dean contacted me and just asked me if I would be willing to renew it, and I said I would bring it to the board. I don't anticipate many student teaching through Humboldt State, but I want to preserve the relationship that we have with Humboldt State, so I don't want to close that door. So that's what you have before you. It's pretty standard. There's nothing new or exciting in it.
Is this similar to the one we do with Sonoma State?
Yes.
Okay. Any questions?
It's pretty straightforward.
Okay, I move that we approve the MOU with Humboldt State for student teaching.
One second.
Okay, any discussion?
I hope they come over our way.
Yeah, we'll take new people. Maybe they'll like it here and stay. Okay.
Okay. Trustee Mattson?
Yes. I couldn't hear if you said Mackle or.
Oh, sorry. Mattson. Trustee Paoli?
Yes.
President Babcock?
Yes.
Trustee Makala?
Yes.
And Trustee Schneider?
Yes.
And 10.3, our MOU with the district and the city of Fort Bragg.
And so this is the MOU for the TOT money. Tabitha Miller sent this over to us for us to approve. It's pretty basic. We are going to do the purchasing. They are going to reimburse us, which is a much easier process for all of us. So this will get the ball moving. We will have the equipment hopefully prior to the summer months when we really, really need it. So it's just a matter of your approval at this point.
So it looks fine. It's just funny that our obligations have already passed, but they're in here as like they haven't occurred yet. Like we're supposed to seek approval, but you already sought it, didn't you?
We already sought approval from the city, yes.
Okay, just.
This is the first round of any of this happening, so
Right.
nobody really had.
Starting
there was no
from scratch,
process set up,
yes.
So
Right.
now there's a process, so
Great.
next time, the MOU will be signed, and then we'll put in a request.
So it looks like you can just switch out whatever we're spending money on and use a similar agreement.
And each time we go to the city, we'll have to go with a specific proposal like we did.
Right,
So-
and it sounds like, because I watched the segment, and that's where the priority is right now, but that priority could change for the TOT. I mean, it says it can be other areas, so I'm very happy that they're supporting us, but it may not, if we don't show that this is improving, and I think it will, but it's quite a gift. And so you just have to report to them twice in a calendar year, I guess, or a school year before.
That's how I read it. That's how I read it. And that's pretty natural because we're going to be coming back asking for money again for something else. And a report is simple and nice and a good gesture on our part to say thank you. So
I hope they keep Measure AB. I hope they continue to the intent of the funds as budget restrictions get harder for them because they don't have to put money aside for this.
Exactly. That's what I was saying. That thank you.
So and as new members get elected and old members that passed Measure AB go away, it's going to become less and less likely that they'll, unless there's a lot of community support.
Right.
Well,
Well,
we
and-
keep making our reports.
and right now, the city council is very cognizant of the state of our fields and what we don't have coming into the city because our fields are in disarray. That's difficult. It's not going, I don't believe, and Barry Silva doesn't believe, that it's going to take much muscle work to get it to a place where we can bring some of that back. So aerating the fields, mowing the fields, keeping the fields going, just that little bit is going to make a huge improvement. And then we also have the Fields Committee that's really doing some labor-intensive work to do some massive improvements to the field. So we're on the right path. You know, the winds, the winds of change are slow. So it's taking us a while. So I'm hopeful that this is going to put us on the right direction. It'll give us the summer months for our grounds team to really understand how to use the equipment and start aerating the fields and getting them moving. And just so that people understand where we're coming from, Timberwolf Stadium is the most well-maintained field in our district. And we don't have the rodent problems out there because it's maintained well. It is kept very well. We do have lots of competition on it, but we are overusing Timberwolf. So bringing in this equipment will help us maintain it better. We won't have to go to outside entities. And we're hoping to do that to all our fields. So slowly but surely, I think this is a good move.
Yeah, it's exciting.
It's a community project.
Absolutely.
Okay. Any other questions or? Okay.
I move to approve the memorandum of understanding between the City of Fort Bragg and the Fort Bragg Unified School District for Measure AA funding.
I second.
Okay. Any discussion?
Nope.
Trustee Schneider,
Yes?
Trustee Makala,
Yes.
President Babcock,
Yes.
Trustee Paoli,
Yes.
and Trustee Mattson.
Yes.
Right. Okay, we're moving on to the information and discussion section. The first thing is 11.1, the adoption of the new science books. And this is high school, right?
It is. So this is for biology. And Kelly Farrell sent me a quote from McGraw-Hill for the books that they are considering. And the quote is for $20,708.03. And let me get that is for 150 biology books and then 3 sets of teacher materials, and the electronic teacher edition for a 6-year subscription, and then all the guides that go with it. So the teacher materials they're receiving them for free, so it comes to almost $1,300 for the teacher materials. The books are $126.80 a book. So for 150 books, it's $19,020, and then you have good old tax.
Do those books come with an online component?
There are online resources for the series, yes.
We're paying tax on textbooks for schools, that's just crazy.
Well, do you know what kind of, these businesses are $1.7 billion. One other is $7 billion. It just doesn't seem right how much the publishers
make.
are profiting. They're a $7 billion company, or a 1.7
Yes, they are not a
billion.
nonprofit, let's just put it that way.
So it just seems wrong.
I agree.
Well, and we had hoped in education that the cost of textbooks would come down as electronic opportunities became more plentiful. And nothing has changed.
Well, that's why, because it's big
One
money.
would have to drop.
Well, and they're
before
trying to pass
other
some laws to make online available to be free, but it cuts into the profits, so it's pushed back.
Cut it in half. I mean.
Exactly.
Have absolutely no difference in the cost of a book online versus paper is pretty ridiculous. I mean, there's no manufacturing.
Right.
Right.
You know,
Right, exactly.
There's no excuse for charging the same amount for a paper book as.
Well, their
an
CEO
online
does need to make several million a year.
Okay.
Okay, it's getting late, I can feel it.
So the books have been on display, and please go by and check them out if you would like, listeners at home.
They're really nice, and they have a career component, which I love. They talk about, I can't help being a CTE proponent, but yeah, they talk about, you know, if you're involved in this kind of science, these are the kinds of careers that you can expect to do if that's your interest. And so.
And the version of the book we have at the district office is the electronic version and not the paper version.
Which is hard to navigate. So I'm from the 1980s, and I thought, oh my gosh, I didn't find that, but I kept getting to the same component. I thought, those kids are smart.
So So have families been notified that this is on display?
Yes.
Great,
They did an all-call,
Yep.
perfect.
which is interesting. I was with a group of high school parents, and the all-call went out, and everybody looked at their phone and put it away. Okay, well, that's working.
Okay. And then 11.2, so that'll come back to the agenda for action next month. So 11.2, board policy and admin regulation updates. So I think it's really interesting, the timing of some of these things.
Mm-hmm.
So,
So most of the board policies are legal changes in law. I don't know how you'd want to go through them, Kathy, so. You want to start from,
normally, yeah.
just go through? Okay, so starting with, let me get up to the top here. So starting with the school plans and the, for site council. So the state changed the requirements for the SIPSAs, which is the single plan for student achievement. And so now we are looking at the dashboard and data, and so all of that is memorialized in the new board policy. There's a specific requirement in here for a needs assessment, and that's really taking a look at the data and making sure that your data and dashboard is addressed in your single plan for student achievement.
And the template for those has already been.
It's already been
And
changed.
I got a preview at the site council at middle school, and it's now called a school plan.
It's
not
called the
single
school plan,
Mhm.
right? So the next policy, AR 0420, about school site councils, really delineates who's supposed to be on it and how it's supposed to be. And this was interesting to me because we've had for years, you know, kind of the formula of what a site council is supposed to be, and we've never been able to get to the formula. In the days of old, before this policy was adjusted, it was 10. It was 5 parents and then 5 staff, so that there was an even Stevens approach, and we've never been able to get that many people on our site council. But this talks about what the makeup of the committee is, the comprehensive safety plan, which we do. We have the safety plans approved in September, even though they're not due until March, because it doesn't make sense to present the board with a safety plan for the school year in March when the school year is 3/4 of the way completed. So we do things within the timelines. I think our timelines make a little more sense. So that's that AR.
I had a question about the needs assessment. So do we have a tool? It talks about, so I wasn't really sure if they give us a needs assessment, or is that something we're gonna have to create and implement, or?
My interpretation of that was taking a hard look at your dashboard and evaluating what your needs are.
Okay, so not like
Not a formal.
not
No,
the counseling needs
that's
assessment.
not how I interpreted it.
Okay. It's, my lens comes from a different needs assessment, so, okay, good.
That's yeah. So what you'll see in the site plans coming up is you'll see pictures of the dashboard,
Mhm,
and
mhm.
and at each point in the site plan, it'll say, what are you gathering from this data? What are you learning from this data? How? So that you'll see when we do site plans next time in May.
It's almost like 30 pages.
Yeah.
That are populated now.
Mm-hmm. And it's good stuff
Good, it
because
is
you
good.
have to look at each one, and you have to put in your site plan how you're going to address that dashboard, that particular dashboard. So I appreciated that all the metrics are in there that the schools are accountable for, and then you specifically have to address it, and then it breaks it down by subgroup as well.
Mhm.
So you can't just gloss over it. So I'm happy with the new template. I think it makes a whole lot of sense. The next one is the comprehensive safety plan. Most of that is simply just little law changes, nothing really major in there.
Now, I'm sorry.
Go ahead,
I have
yes.
a question. And this probably doesn't need to happen at 9 o'clock at night, but I was just, with the stuff that happened earlier in the school year and what I learned over the summer at the Leadership Institute, has there been any other discussion about creating a safety committee? And, you know, looking at, I mean, I know nobody wants another committee, but
It's important.
right. I just think we have been very fortunate in our community not to have any emergencies, and I'm not talking about active
Right.
shooters or anything, but I just mean
In
But that
general.
too.
Just general emergencies,
Well,
even
it
when the
could be an
power went
earthquake,
out.
yeah.
So I have, like I said before, I have all those notes and things from that, and I don't know if anybody has time to do that, but.
Well, the safety.
I think we have to make time.
Well, and each school has their committee that they follow their process in order to get their safety plan approved. So they have their internal committee. Is it a formal committee that, hey, I'm on the safety committee? No. We could definitely look at starting the year and forming a safety committee for the district. And if you want it to be a formal board committee, then 2 of you can be on it. And we could say that we're going to meet twice a year and have certain things on there, and then invite the chief of police and invite the fire chief, and really have a broader community discussion. One of the things that I've been concerned about is we are more likely to experience a natural disaster. That's the greater likelihood. So what happens if we have a big earthquake, and how are we equipped and prepared? You know, should we have a container at each site? This was a conversation years ago. Should we have a container at each site with things in it ready for the community? Sleeping bags, water, and then change out those things, like water every 5 years, if whatever the shelf life is, and trying to look at some of these resources, because what's going to happen, and we've seen this from all of the wildfires in California, where are the emergency posts when there's a fire? Every school district that's closest and untouched, right? So we know we will become our community's emergency center should some kind of real threat naturally occur. It happened in Ukiah. When the fires in Redwood Valley happened, Ukiah Unified became the hub. They immediately went into their warehouse, and they were using their food for student lunches. They were feeding the community. So those are kind of the things that I can see us creating a committee for, to make sure that we are addressing the safety of our campuses and looking to the greater good of the community for if and when we become shelters.
Well,
So-
and having staff understand their role. I don't think most people understand. We do have a role, and we're not choosing, you may not choose to do it, but it is.
Yeah, I was, to be honest, I was shocked at the number of teachers I passed going down Chestnut Street as I was coming up to get my child. And I'm thinking, I think you're supposed to
When the power
wait till
outage
till everybody's gone.
Well, I mean, we all have roles. When I was at the
Right.
school, we all had a role, but did people really understand what that role was?
Well, and we do our best to explain it, and one of the things that we had talked about was spending a day in the fall where we kind of said, okay, if you are on the search and rescue committee for your school, you're going to go to this room and we're going to give you this training. If you are on logistics, you're going to go to this room and get this training. So that's one of the things that we did, that we had talked about. We haven't completely followed through on a lot of that. Time is our enemy, unfortunately. But the reality is that we need to make the time because it's hugely important. So if you would like me to investigate or explore a safety committee with the admin team, and maybe just have it.
And when I think of it, I think of the larger community, not just checking off the safety plan at the site, but looking at more, a kind of a little more above look at things. Yeah.
Local level.
Well, you only
'Cause
have
I
to
thought
look
I
at
read that
Paradise to see that.
right, and I thought that I read that we had to do that annually with law enforcement, but maybe it wasn't an annual.
It says that they're invited. It doesn't say they
Invited.
have to, you have to
Right, 'cause
tell
I know
them.
we've done that before, but.
And when we make the original plan, which we did years and years ago, it was the greater community. We had everybody here. We had the fire chief from Westport. We had the fire chief from Fort Bragg. We had the police chief. We had CHP. We had a representative from the sheriff's department. And we got together and created the emergency plans, which is what we're operating from still. So this is something that we could definitely look at and invite community members and look at city council involvement in it as well, and just say, okay, if we have a natural disaster, how are we as a city going to handle that? So it's something we can definitely look into.
Because there was a lot of talk about it in the community, and then of course it dies off because it's not in your, it's
Backyard.
not in the news and it's
Right.
not in our face. But again, you don't plan, and then something's
No.
going to sneak in. So I would like to, and I'm more than willing to.
Me too, I completely agree.
Okay. So I'll look in, I'll start emailing some of our key people in key organizations and coordinating calendars and see if we can get something going. And summer might actually be a good time to do that, so.
I rewrote the action plan for the city involving a lot of the key players around here, so if you need help.
That'd be great.
Just
Thank you,
getting people
Scott.
together, and we got the Coast Guard, and we had them all
Good,
working on it.
good,
so.
good thoughts, good thoughts. Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Okay, so moving right along on the board policies, because there's 88 wonderful pages of them. We move the safety plan. Again, that's mostly just simple word changes, a couple of procedural changes. From the school safety plan, we go into the LCAP. Most of that was just small wording changes.
Now, it talks about the parent advisory committee, and it was very specific.
About special
Is what we're
education.
doing, meeting all that?
So right now it is because I think what we need to do moving forward into next year is I think we need to have a specific parent advisory committee, and we call it that so that there's no question that we're doing what we need to do. I make it a point to go to the site councils. I'm going to DLAC next week to talk about the LCAP. All of the board meetings that we've had about the budget to discuss our budget pieces, that's all part of that. So I'm happy to try and get a parent advisory committee that meets 4 times next year so that we can have that box checked. The hard part with us is we all know this. We have wonderful families in our district. Getting parental involvement on something like that can be difficult.
Could we consider the site council as a dual role?
We could, and those are some of the questions that we've asked our county office groups. So, and we've had special board meetings specific to the budget. So, and that's kind of all mentioned in here. I'm really truly happy to say, okay, let's do an LCAP parent advisory committee or a district advisory committee.
I just think we could maybe target a different
Population.
right. So not the traditional parents that can meet at 3:30 that go to site council, and I think the EL parent advisory can be tied into the ELAC meetings and the DLAC meetings, but I know we try, and it's always, and that's always everybody's issue. But if we could target some and, find one group with kind of a common time they could meet or day or whatever, and then.
You kind of have to go to them. I mean, that's
Right.
unfortunate. You have to make it convenient for them.
I feel like more parents are participating in our.
Well, and I'd love to see us try and do a parent advisory committee that meets in the morning when the kids are in school. Because I think we might be more focused if we can have the kids in school and then everybody's brighter and fresher in the morning. It's 9 o'clock right now, and we're all still enthusiastic, as I can clearly see, but it's hard. It's hard to work. We've all been at work since 7:30, 8 o'clock this morning, and we're still not done. And so I would like to see us maybe do something in the morning and try and get a parent advisory committee going, and then do the whole Prel commercial, and I'll tell 2 friends, and you'll tell 2 friends, and so on, and so on, and so on. So if we can maybe start with something, I'd like to shoot, like, for maybe a meeting in September, a meeting in December, and a meeting in March, like 3 meetings a year that are strategically placed, because after March, then we wait for the May revise to happen.
Right.
So,
And then
Linda always
they
holds
also-
her ELAC at 8:30 in the morning, and she always gets a good turnout.
And they also want to include support plan for the education of students with disabilities. So I don't know how that's being captured or going to be captured.
Say that one more
For
time.
LCAP, that it actually says that they would like to include a support plan for the education of students with disabilities.
Within the LCAP. So there is a new pot of money that's coming in.
And it's addressing, is that why that's in
Is
there
that-
now?
Oh, we don't know if that's coming in for sure. Oh, we don't know for sure until May.
Yeah.
I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about, the special ed money?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But that's for an additional, that's,
Right, and I'm not
Okay, well,
Okay.
I'm hopeful.
Well, then we can just make sure that when we do this parent advisory committee, that you get parents.
Right.
Who are parents with students with disabilities.
Right.
So it also says that starting in July, we need to develop a local control funding formula budget overview for parents in conjunction with the LCAP.
That's an extra piece of the template now.
Mhm.
It's
So it's all part of it.
already kind of
Built in.
so, yeah.
Great.
And believe it or not, we had we really do
I
have
remember
something
there was
like that.
something.
If you look at the little brochure that we had, the,
Mhm.
what was it called, the snapshot, the LCAP
Mhm.
snapshot, it had the budget in there,
Mhm.
an overview of the budget, which was great. So
So it's more
a lot of
readable.
this we're already doing.
Mhm.
The good news is we do our LCAP through document tracking services, so they provide a lot of this already. So all of the changes that these ARs and BPs talk about, they've already been implemented in our plans, and we're ready for next year.
Great.
So I am on,
Suicide prevention, right? Is that the next one?
Community AR 1220,
Citizen Advisory Committee.
Citizen Advisory Committees.
I didn't write, I guess I didn't make any notes in that one. My next notes are in the
That-
AR 5142.
And Anna, I'm just going to ask you to verify. I looked through these and they all look like just law changes and language change.
A lot of it's, this particular one is, a lot of it's just language change for sure, yes.
Okay.
It doesn't have any real content issue.
And-
the district practice, looked pretty much like what we do already.
Mhm.
So
Oh,
it's
mhm.
not missing
I didn't write anything on this one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Straightforward.
So I'm looking at AR 3543, Transportation Safety and Emergencies, Business and Non-Instructional Operations. Again, that's a
And
lot
our
of that.
buses have all that now, right?
This is the
Mhm.
stuff that Barry has looked at this.
And Barry was on this early.
Right.
So all of
Yes.
our buses are good to go. So we're not worried about that. And our new bus that will be coming will be equipped and ready to go as well. So that's exciting. And then moving along to AR 5113, absences and excuses. We've looked at this one several times and what we're supposed to do and not supposed to do, and this just kind of catches us up about what is an excused absence and what's not. And what I just want to remind folks of, whether the absence is excused or not excused, we still don't get the funding.
Right. So that
So-
was weird how they spent so much time differentiating. So I'm thinking, well, what does that mean for
It-
us?
It has to
There-
do with
there-
making up work.
Well,
Okay.
and the
And
reason is
credits.
because of SARB.
Okay.
So if you have an excused absences, you are then eligible to qualify for SARB, where the families can go before the school attendance and review board if your student's attendance exceeds 3 unexcused absences. So that's kind of the threshold. So that's why this is important. There are some districts that have really robust and strong SARB policies and a SARB and a district attorney who prosecutes for SARB and a law enforcement that's specifically assigned to SARB. And we don't have a lot of that, but we still need to have the legal policy that follows Ed Code.
And there was a big chunk that was new about students who were out of school to be doing performing arts,
Mhm.
things like that. And just,
Other activities.
Must have
partial
lobbyists in
days
somebody's
of
pocket
religious,
for that.
Mhm.
exercise.
And the religion thing was,
Yeah, which we'd already talked about
Mhm.
before. I think it was just clarifying what we've already.
Right, exactly, 'cause it seemed like a repeat.
Tightening up of the language.
Mm-hmm.
So the next one, seclusion and restraint, we don't do that
This
anyway.
is alarming, yeah. I hope we don't, that
Wait,
was,
no, we don't do this.
this was very alarming.
So it's
But
sad.
you have to throw it in.
You have to make sure you have it. So then the suicide prevention, we already provide the SOS training. And Kathy, I don't know if you were a counselor when we did it at the high school, but we've been doing this
Yeah.
for a number of years.
and I didn't, what did I write here, are all students, oh, that whole thing about the ID card with the number on it. So Because I know the middle school just gives the cards out.
Life Touch has already added that to the back of the cards for next year. She
Oh,
already showed
perfect.
me a sample.
Okay,
and
but
all
what
schools
about the
having
fact
it.
that we charge for them and not every kid gets one? So are you, is every kid supposed to?
You make a good point.
So what we might have
Could
to
we
do, and
pass
it's,
out
well,
just
well, it's
paper?
interesting because when
Business
I
cards.
was in high school, everybody got the ID card, and what you paid for was the sticker.
Yeah.
And you
Oh,
got
for
a
the
sticker that
discounts?
said ASB. So that's how it was done when I was in high school in Southern California. Everybody got your ID card so that you could have a student ID and show that you were a student of a specific high school. And then on your card, you paid for a sticker that gave you discounts around town and specific things that went with it.
Dances and games and.
Mhm.
That's a great idea. How much would that cost, I wonder? Oh, yeah, they make them anyway, right?
Well,
Yeah.
we get all the ID cards,
Right.
so what we may need to do is talk to ASB and making that shift to, okay, everybody's gonna get a card, but now we're gonna, you can sell a sticker,
Right.
so. So we'll think about it. We'll see what
Okay.
Katrina
I
wants
just
to do.
didn't, didn't know if that's really what they were after, is that every kid got this phone number.
I think,
Then that's a different
Right.
situation at the high school.
well, and we don't do ID cards for Redwood and Dana Gray,
Mhm.
so
Right.
we'll have to talk to Life Touch and see what they wanna do about that.
Well, and I think that might be no.
This doesn't classify a certain group of kids or an age?
Yeah, and I just jumped to middle school and high school because that's who we issue the.
The cards to.
Yeah.
Right.
And then I didn't know if the counselors and Mary Iverson needed to look at those. Just to.
The
She's
suicide
the one-
prevention
mhm.
administrative regs, we can provide them.
Because I know that's where a lot of those things happen, is in her room and in her class. Or that's what it used to be.
Mm-hmm.
Still is.
Okay, after that, we have discipline. And what's in green kind of goes along with the board policy that was before. We don't do the seclusion or the restraint. And then more on that.
There was an optional paragraph, 59.
Page 59.
Mm-hmm.
You mean page 60?
It's 59 on the bottom, but it's 60 in the,
Okay.
upper
Well,
right.
it's all-
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So
And
the
we
following
did, we
optional-
did already have that paragraph
Mhm.
in, so it was
Mhm.
already opted for. If you want
We
to
have
keep
Saturday
it.
class.
Mhm. We have the board policy 5146. And we do this already. We don't deny anybody any education.
Right. But how do you notify people at the beginning of the school year? Is
We
that in
get the
board?
legal notifications from the legal department at the beginning of each year, and they go out in the registration packet,
In the books?
online
Okay.
registration packet.
Perfect.
And we give
August
them
6th.
8 weeks of leave.
Pardon?
They get 8 weeks of leave.
So typically, when we have a pregnant student, the pregnant student goes on independent study, or we do home and hospital.
Mhm.
So we've never had a student. Well, I shouldn't say never, but our goal is always that when we have a student who's pregnant and gives birth, it's to make sure they graduate.
And not get behind,
Mhm.
right? Help them along.
And luckily, our school has always been supportive in that situation, so kids usually come forth early, so there's lots of time to
Mhm.
figure
Figure
that
out.
out before, whether getting them their credits done before they have the baby or.
Do we have a lot?
Pardon?
Do we have a lot usually?
Through the lot?
Do
Is
we
there a lot
have
of
a lot?
students
Oh,
that are
no, no,
pregnant
no,
now?
no, we don't. We don't have a lot
Not
of.
for the last few years, but 1 year. It was a lot.
We had a cluster.
And, you know, what's difficult is that we clearly don't want our students to become pregnant while they're in high school.
Right.
You know, we want to promote them graduating and finishing their lives as a young person. When it does happen, though, we do our best to try and support it so that they don't become a statistics. That's what it's about. So.
I think most of them have completed. Well, I was reading that, or it's in here about the 5th year of instruction if they want to come back and finish the 5th year. Have we done that?
We usually do it through NOYO,
Right.
to be honest with you, or adult school. Once a female student gives birth, they are qualified to be they are legally an adult. It doesn't matter if you're 12, 16, 17. Once you give birth, you are an adult in the eyes of the state. So at that point, they can do adult school, NOYO. We offer independent study. Our independent study teachers are great and really work with the parents. We can do home and hospital during maternity leave.
Could they do though regular year or no?
A 5th year?
Yeah.
I think according to this policy, they do, but
Nobody usually wants to.
no one usually wants to. They want to graduate with their class. If they're a little bit behind and they need one more semester, we always help them. We've never cut anybody off. NOYO and adult school is the easier way to do it. So, and I should say easier, it's just more amenable to a complicated lifestyle.
Right.
So in adult school, what's great about adult school, it's a high school diploma, it's fewer credits because adult school negates the PE credits. So instead of 220 credits for high school diploma, you only need 200. So if you've already taken PE, it just becomes part of your elective bank. So it kind of helps you get through a little bit quicker.
And it's only 2 days a week still.
It's only two nights a week. Migrant education, there's nothing really, I mean, that's really just little law changes. And migrant education, I think we go through, I want to say through Butte County, isn't that, is that right? Is it Butte?
Used to be.
Yeah, I think that's right.
It's Butte County that's our lead for our migrant education program. And so we do have a migrant ed summer school. So that requirement we're not too worried about. We already do it. And then we follow the high school graduation requirements for the optional requirements for migrant students. And then our migrant ed advisor is Teresa Rodriguez, and so we'll work with her for any parent advisory council.
So there is I don't know how far,
So,
on page 77.
77,
on the
so home and
bottom.
hospital.
Yeah, there's an optional paragraph.
The following optional paragraph.
Did we have that one before or something?
You know, it's interesting because when I read this for the first time, we don't take the 5 working days. When we get a prescription from a doctor that puts a student on home and hospital, we start home and hospital because we don't want students to get behind. So I'm not too concerned about this. And the specificity with home and hospital is that there's a start date, there's an end date, and there's a qualifying temporary disability. You know, if you broken your leg and you just in a body cast, or is it we've had several kids on mono, you know, go on home and hospital for a little bit because the more you wear yourself out, you can't recover from mono. It's just harder and harder. So little things like that.
So can we take it out then if we don't need to worry about I guess it just says shall begin no later.
Are you looking on page 76?
Uh-huh.
Or it says individual instruction at a student's home.
Wait, I'm on that page too.
Well, it's 77 on the physical page.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
We already do it. I mean, I'm not worried about it in there, to be honest with you.
Just leave it.
And typically what happens if we've ever gone over the 5 days is because we couldn't get an appointment with the family. But
you offered it before the 5th.
we don't have a whole lot of children on home and hospital. Board bylaws. Let's get to the good stuff. There was nothing hugely eye-opening on this. There is an optional paragraph. You're not a contentious board. This is not something I don't think any of us are worried about. I don't know if I've ever seen a contentious board in Fort Bragg Unified, to be honest with you, in my 20 years that I've been here.
The topic is pretty clean. Students.
Yeah.
Well, and there's that optional paragraph aboard if someone denies something on the board agenda. You know, if you guys want something on the board agenda, you talk to the president, and the president gets it on or not. But it's
Somewhere I remember just seeing it. I think our agenda says 10 days. I think it said 7 somewhere. Maybe I'm. 72 hours. That we do that. The public notice. Let me see.
What page are you on?
I'm just going by memory, so I'm looking for it.
I don't see a 10, but it could be spelled out and not.
Well, we have it 10 on our ours,
7,
and I think it goes to 7.
Well, it says something here about if a board member or a member of the public wants an agenda item, they must request it in writing at least 1 week before the scheduled meeting date.
That's where. What page are you?
The top of page 82 or 81.
Okay, that's what I read.
Item submitted less than a week before the meeting may be postponed to a later meeting in order to allow sufficient time.
we haven't had a conflict with that, but that's a tricky one when you think that so our meetings are on Thursday. Agenda setting is on a week and a half before it, and then we put the board packet out publicly on Monday.
So can we change it to 10 days? That's what we have in our.
Yeah, we have it saying at least 10 days before, and then I wrote it here saying 7.
Okay, I'm on page 81, and so what we can do is I can ask legal, because let's see what it says above that.
And if we can't, do we just change our agenda setting date to a week before?
That would be crazy.
We would never get the board packet out to you in time.
Yeah, it'd be crazy.
That's why Anna very quickly, without hesitation.
Yeah, I bet.
I wasn't sure if that was Anna or Wendy. No.
So we can look and see if we
Well, and I
can.
definitely personally need that weekend to.
Right.
Digest.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah,
to take
yeah,
it in
if
bits.
Yeah.
Well, and I have to tell you, what I appreciate, when I was first superintendent and we were getting the board packet out on Friday, I was so irritated by it, because.
Wrecks your weekend.
Well, not the district office, you know, our primary job is not preparing the board agenda, even though it's hugely important. So when you're trying to get it out by Friday, it's a lot of work, but it's more work on Anna, which means that I don't have that resource, right? But 3 years into it, I will tell you that I appreciate that Friday, because we find the errors on the weekend, and before it goes out to the public, it's found. And I'll look over something and never catch it, or you'll look over something and never catch it. Like Diana, you find some typos. I'm like, where was that?
I know, it's an illness.
I
don't catch them all.
I'm like, oh my.
They think I'm a nitpicker, but I just see the stuff, and you might as well have it. You might as well have it go out so it looks professional.
We can be more relaxed about it because we know you're.
Oh gosh, yeah. Don't put it all on me.
Well, it's funny because don't worry about it. Don't
Diana
worry
will
about
find
it.
it.
Diana will find it.
It's like a puzzle.
But I have to tell you, having the board packet go out on Friday has really been a huge relief, because we go into Monday knowing that we're going to have to answer some questions. But No, not at all, because it's
Mhm.
minor. It's not these
Right,
big
no,
things.
exactly, you've done the big work through the week.
So, and the couple of times that we did get the board packet out on Monday and not the Friday, and we had things, it was too late to change it.
It's hard,
Mhm.
yeah.
So, we can look, I can ask legal if we can change that 1 week to 10 days.
Okay, and then there was,
I just would hate to have somebody come out,
yeah, because if it
Say
says.
about your bylaws.
And then the only
There
other.
seems to be a few.
And then I black out. Why does it black out like that?
Must be a
Anyway.
blank page.
Oh.
Maybe? I don't know.
Okay, minutes and recordings. This is an optional bylaw.
Which we already had.
Oh, excellent.
Which one, and I don't know where it
Public
is,
trust.
but I thought we had to put our mission, and they want that on the agenda. The mission.
That was
and-
way back.
Yeah, it's at the top
Yeah,
of the.
so we don't have that on our agendas. I don't know if you put it on the bottom or where you,
It's on the website.
but I think it has to be on the agenda now. So maybe you'd
I
stick it.
didn't
in-
see that. Did someone, did I
Yeah,
miss
I
that?
read it somewhere, but.
So
Does it
mission
say
and
shall
vision?
or does it say?
Yeah, that's what we need to look, but I remember thinking, we don't do that.
When they talked about that at one of our Masters in Governance
And some
classes.
districts.
Yeah, that's what I read. I read that the mission and vision have to be reflected.
In the
And then we do
Mm.
that on all the board packets. It'll say what the,
Right.
you know, what the goal
Area.
is, but, I mean, we can print it. It's
I'll
not
find
like it's
it.
terribly
Yeah,
difficult.
but then the whole front page is gonna be,
Have to be little, and then we, right.
I mean,
And
you're
we've been-
wasting
Meeting
paper,
agendas shall reflect the district's vision and goals.
which we're really trying to stay on student achievement.
Mhm. Doesn't say literally,
No.
type it on.
The
Okay.
board agenda shall include a statement of the option and process for students and parents and guardians to request it to be included from the minutes.
So are we back down to the last one?
I'm on page 86. The optional paragraphs. Well, it's interesting because it says upon approval of the board, the minutes shall be signed by, and it used to say the vice president, but that got lined out.
Right.
So signed by whom?
Yeah.
Oh, so it has to reflect our practice, I'm sorry. So we can leave it as vice president then, or a board officer.
Right now, nobody has been signing.
Right, because I brought that up, I don't remember
You
when
did.
or
You did,
how or
and-
why,
Right.
'cause what did I
You found
read?
it somewhere.
I found it
Yeah, well,
somewhere.
when this came up, you spotted it, and then this is obviously reflected after
I know.
the
I think
fact
I was,
with the policy change.
I Googled my new
That's
new
what it was,
title,
yeah.
vice president, and then it came up, and I'm like, whoa, the minutes. I'm like, I'm
So
supposed to
it
be
is an
signing the minutes?
optional paragraph,
Okay.
and if you want to put in on the bottom that somebody signs it, then we can add that paragraph with whomever, or the designation.
Do we need to sign them if we approve them at the meeting?
I
Somebody's supposed to sign them.
It's a checks and balance, that's all it is. You know, to make sure, yeah, you approved them. Did
'Cause in
Anna go in and
clubs,
switch them?
The secretary actually signs them. You know, in regular.
Right.
So it also says that
Organizations.
the president at the start of every meeting is supposed to announce that a recording or broadcasting is being made.
And we've mostly done that since we've been doing this.
I guess the announcements every time I joke about our YouTube.
It says the board
Well, and I
president.
ask if they're ready.
You
I'll try
had-
to remember to.
Because maybe we should add that to our
Meetings being
blurb.
recorded.
Can you state your name for the camera?
Right. but
Okay, I'll try
maybe
to-
add it to this blurb.
Yeah, but I don't read that.
Some people do.
So maybe what we'll do is Anna, can we just put in a
Give me a
blurb
dirty
that?
look when I
So
let the room
we'll
go
just have a
silent.
blurb for you every time that includes the statement
Brown
about
Act.
the Brown Act, the camera, and then the public comment.
Maybe you could say, and welcome to our viewers at home.
I know. It's getting late, kids.
Are they
We're-
tired?
we're-
They're tired.
It's probably as much to alert anybody sitting here that you are being recorded.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, it says in
Right.
here that they may capture your image and sound, and
Yeah.
so I
Right.
don't know if we need to say
Personal
that
rights.
exactly, but.
We made it,
If
page
they
87.
can miss the stuff back there when they walk in, I would be surprised. Remember when the recording devices were big in college and it was like this huge ordeal?
Right, you had to ask
You had
if
to
it was
ask,
okay.
yeah. Okay, I didn't have any other notes.
That was it.
So this will get moved to board action in the May meeting.
Okay. Okay, all right, other advanced planning or suggestions for future board meetings? I think we have some questions about dates, but is there anything else?
Do we, well, this is kind of far out, but do we need to address our mission or core values? Far out. Far out in the future.
Right on.
Is that something that we want to do this summer?
I think we should.
Because we've inherited the mission and core values?
And once you establish that, we can establish priorities.
See, you girls good went to me. This is where all this stuff comes from me.
Yes.
Everybody thinks I'm crazy.
Well, we just need to, but we are setting direction, more direction than you think.
I know. We've come a long way.
Yeah. But anyway, that we can talk about.
Yes, I say let's go for it. That's not what my question was.
Then the only thing that I had written down, summer school plans. Do we get, I guess we always get a report after, but like what's the?
Yeah, Carolyn is going to be on the
reporting?
May agenda.
Great.
She's out of town
Okay,
for this meeting, so
great.
she couldn't make it.
And then what about a tech report? Because we haven't had him report out, and given that all the expenditures this last year.
Yeah, Rick reported at the meeting that we have enough bandwidth to have every kid doing the CASP at Dana Gray at the same time.
Correct.
That's wild.
So that they're doing some good work.
Yeah.
Considering 4 years ago, you could only do one group of kids and everybody else at the site had to get off the internet.
That's crazy.
We've come a long way.
Because his last report was quite a while ago, and it was amazing. I was thoroughly impressed with his presentation.
Okay, so specifics. Originally, we had a May 9th, a May 16th, and there's a 29th on the Google Calendar, but it's not on the agenda. So do we know what happened to that?
No, that was my error, obviously.
So we are
It is
having
on the
it.
calendar.
It is happening.
The 29th.
Okay,
So what are we doing on these 3 meetings?
So, May 9th is the
Is
regular.
Yeah, I know
is
we
the
need
regular
that one,
board
but
meeting.
we have 2 specials?
And then I had the budget was the 16th, and then the 30th, whatever it is, 29th, was LCAP preview and site plans.
Okay, so the 16th, there's the
It's too early.
budget revise isn't out. Well, I mean, like we'll just have, I'm not gonna have anything ready by the 16th for that.
Yeah, because the state will have just come out with that.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
May 29th is a Wednesday, correct?
Yes.
Okay, and May 29th is supposed to be the LCAP preview and the
Site plans.
And the site plans. And so I'm wondering if we should move the site plans to the 16th and make the 29th about budget.
And the LCAP preview, the first read of the LCAP.
Will that give you time, Wendy, the 29th?
Yeah.
Does the 28th work too, or not?
No.
Okay.
There was,
did a doodle poll.
Okay. So I won't be there on the 29th.
I don't know if was the 28th on?
I believe it was.
I knew the 28th.
I don't know, I
It
had
is
a-
Dana Gray Open House.
It is?
Spring Open House on the 28th. And it is Fort Bragg High School Senior Banquet on the 30th.
I don't think we get invited to that.
The 29th is open house for Dana Gray.
Yeah, I can't hear anything you guys are saying. You're
I said, I don't think
getting
we,
so soft.
so I don't think we get invited to the senior banquet, the high
So-
school
Right.
senior banquet.
We have Dana Gray Open House on the 28th. We have a special board meeting on the 29th. And I think the 29th is actually senior boards.
At 1:30.
Huh.
Yeah.
Okay, so then the 29th is budget.
And LCAP preview, first read.
This is site plans and all the other stuff. Okay.
And the 16th will be the site plans.
A special meeting with site plans. There's not enough, we can't put site plans on the May 9th meeting. It's already full.
We need to give him a little bit more time.
Yeah. It's about the time. Okay, got it.
It's just a new template. It's not going to take a whole lot of time, but
Just figure it out.
right. And what we can do is we can look at what I'll do is I'll work with the principals, because I'm seeing on the 16th that Mr. Kale, I'm supposed to cover for him. So if he's not going to be in town, he won't be able to present his site plan on the 16th. So maybe we can move, him to the 9th or move him to the 29th. So I'll work with them to get that kind of adjusted appropriately.
Okay, and then June, we have them scheduled the 13th, the 20th, and the 27th is not on Google, right? But we all had it written
It's
down.
not on there, but it's on the.
And I have it
it's
on my
our
calendar.
sheet.
Right.
I have it on my calendar. It says regular school board meeting on
Yeah, I
June
put it on my
27th.
calendar, but it doesn't come through on Google. Okay.
So-
20th and 27th?
Mhm.
Yep.
3 in a row.
3 Thursdays, and that's just to get our LCAP. It's on my calendar, so.
Maybe I didn't accept it or something, but it's,
Mine, and I have all the others.
Okay.
And it's not impossible that we could get through on the 13th and the 20th.
So that's an option where we really could be done on the 20th. And because we only need 24 hours to post a special board meeting, we might decide that we don't need the 27th.
and there's a good possibility I won't be here on the 20th, but,
On the 27th?
no, 20th.
Okay.
And Mary won't be here on the
We just
20th.
want to do 13th and 27th then?
I mean,
Doesn't matter to us. We're here.
I'm gone the 27th. But
Yeah.
You know how I am. You go ahead and party without me. I get it.
Well, let's, for sure, we're going to have the 13th. Let's
Right.
get done with the 13th. The 20th and the 27th are special board meetings anyway.
It's a regular.
Oh, 27th is regular, then the
Uh-huh.
27th has to stay.
Right.
So since the
Oh, we
20th
can't
is a
cancel it?
special, we could
That may go.
just determine to just get rid of that one. So let's meet on the 13th, we'll figure it out, and then we will either have the 20th or not.
So in the future, could we consider, because if anyone wanted to vacation, it's difficult in the month of June, to have, I know you had us at the next day, which I don't even know if that's even possible. Like this year, probably not.
Well,
But
I think it is possible, to be honest with you,
Okay.
because by the time I present the LCAP to you, I'm gonna show you the LCAP, a first version on the 9th. We're gonna look at it again on the 16th. We're gonna look at it again. I'm hoping to show it to you so many times that if there are questions and things we need to tease out, we can tease it out. The reason we do the LCAP with the site plans is because the site plans are supposed to be a direct correlation of our LCAP, which I think we've all seen. There's nothing that's out of left field. So we should, in theory, be able to look at the LCAP, to have the public discussion, we'll know the budget by then, and really the next day we should be able to approve it, unless there's something really wonky. So I'm an advocate for looking at next year and doing this a little bit closer together instead of so many weeks out. That would be my preference.
well, we're going to the fair. I'm not, so I can't move that date. Fair's
Right.
when it is.
the 20th is the fair?
In Redwood Acre, we're going to Eureka.
Okay. Right.
So we'll think,
Right
when
now,
we
it
set
may
the
change.
agendas in January.
Yeah, we'll think about that again.
It's hard to do things that far.
Do we do that in December? We do that in
December.
December.
In
Sorry. When we
December.
do that in December, let's take a look at that. And in fact, everybody just be cognizant of it as we go through the LCAP process again for this year and
See if it's
see
feasible.
what the time takes. And next year, if we have our parent advisory committee, that might take a chunk of the guesswork out of it. But for right now, I don't see this as something that's huge because the LCAP has been a 3-year process. This plan that I'm going to be presenting to you next month is the end of the 3-year
Third year.
process. It's year 3. So moving into next year makes a whole lot of sense that we do our parent advisory committee and we make sure we have those things in place because we're going to be developing a new 3-year plan. So.
Okay.
Okay. These are the busy months.
How's the calendar been going for all of you to make sure people are at certain things? Has that been working?
I haven't looked for the
Yeah.
last month or so.
No, I think I have, and it does help.
I'm sorry, I was working 12-hour days.
Yeah.
I was lucky that.
She was not on the planet.
I am back, maybe.
I'm planning to go to the DLAC unless somebody else,
That's a tough time for
the
me.
23rd, so I was
Mhm.
gonna go to that.
Who's our high school person?
Me.
And I go as a parent.
To the site council?
Right, and I think they might be changing it. Just got word today.
And I've been attending regularly the Three Rivers board meetings. There was a board meeting on Tuesday that I attended, so.
So can you, do they send out their agenda to you so then you can
No.
kind of choose? It'd be nice to have that maybe included in the MOU so that you don't feel like you have to go to each meeting, but then you kind of know what's on the agenda. And
Their
then
meetings
go.
are pretty quick.
Are they?
I mean, they're
Okay.
pretty quick. It's an hour.
They post
Okay.
their agendas, right? Yeah.
They do post their agenda
But you have to
online,
kinda
it's
hunt
public.
for
I'm
them.
not too worried about it.
Okay,
Um,
I just don't want you to
it's
feel
not-
taxed.
It's not 6 to 10.
Okay. Are we feeling good or?
Oh, yeah, I just, Diana, so color run?
Yes.
You need,
Does anyone want to work in the snack shack?
I will work in the snack shack. That's 9 to 12?
9 to 12 on May 11th.
Okay.
Anyone?
Well,
I cannot, I have something going on from
That's-
10 to 12. I mean, I
that's
could
fine.
set up, I could help set up.
And there's no setup. It's
And
pretty
I
busy.
have emailed most of you, I think. I could really use some people at the career fair.
And Kathy, you took on a big undertaking, so, and I'm sorry I haven't been any help.
It's okay.
That is
When's the
a
career fair?
great job.
It's Monday, the 29th, from about, if you can, might struggle, we might just have to redo the thing. People aren't wanting to stay through the lunch and in that last session.
Or 9
So I
to
might
2.
just have to,
So what do you need?
right now I need from 9 to 2,
Just,
people talking to kids about their job.
Well,
I'll take what I can get.
I have you on my
Yeah, I
calendar.
know.
I just have a meeting at 1:15.
I'm gonna start hounding people that aren't responding to me. And
Tell-
Diana's helping me get the blacktop filled, but right now, it looks like we've got, some really cool people pulling some trailers and stuff in for kids to see stuff, so.
So are you envisioning them to be on the blacktop and then they'll leave their equipment and go in to talk to the kids? Or there's, someone has to be out there with that? Like how?
If CDF comes and leaves, I mean, the parents, I've gotta have barbecue out there, so they could kinda keep, if there was any.
Because I was just wondering, when will the kids go out to see it? Just at lunch?
lunch.
Just at lunch?
Just
They'll-
at lunch.
Okay, so they can just park it at that time and then they go in to speak and then
Yeah.
they can come, whatever. Okay, got it.
We don't need to keep you anymore, but it should have been a little, but, schools, it's
happen.
difficult. Yeah, and it took me a long time to get the teachers to approve it, and then, anyway,
so let me know how I can help with, just send me a, call me or something.
Okay.
Let me know how I can help.
even if you guys, if
So
anybody
we-
wants to, or knows of a cook, I could use a couple barbecuers.
Sorry, I'm gonna be gone too, because I totally could do it.
We should call
We need
Paul.
people to cook.
Should call Paul.
Oh, you
I
need
should
to
call
adjourn,
Paul.
Kathy.
Oh.
Meeting adjourned,
Oh,
9:44.
Oh, you need a motion.
I need to move, somebody to move.
Yeah, I so move
Second.
at 9:44.
Meeting adjourned, 9:45.